So I think we can actually end up finishing today. So we'll just end up jumping right into it, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Last time we played, do you have any recollection of what happened? And let me know if the music's too loud. I've just turned it down. Is that good volume for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, do you remember what happened last time we played?
Let's see. The music is cutting in and out here.
Oh, okay. I'll turn it a little bit softer. Could just be your internet connection
Probably the internet
being
connection.
being a little rough.
Let's see. I might turn. Do you want to turn your video off? I don't know.
I can turn my video off if
Yeah, why don't
that
you turn?
helps. Is that better? I don't know if that makes much of a difference.
I think it does. I think it
Oh,
does. Yeah.
okay. Okay, so yeah, my video's off, and if you have any problems, just let me know. Um, Roll20 is pretty intensive as far as internet goes, so it could just be a problem with your connection late at night.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, uh, there was a battle with a sea serpent, basically.
Yeah, this gigantic serpent emerged from the water, and well, the battle hasn't really started yet. You guys found the Clockwork Dragon, um, the one that Gear Tinker made, the toy maker,
Right.
and you guys wandered up into it along with Quentin and Sybil, and then you found that all the orphans were inside. Okay, and you learned that the barbarians had been taking the children, or at least one of the clans of the barbarians had been taking the children and had been putting them into the machine with the hope of making it work, making it fly, and making all of its functions work in order to fight off this gigantic sea serpent that has taken up residence in their section of the wildlands in the Sea of Grass near where their camp is, and has started killing off lots of their barbarians. Um, so the mystery of what happened to the kids has sort of been revealed, and then you found all of them in the Clockwork Dragon. But now you've got this problem with the gigantic sea serpent that has emerged, the one that has been causing the barbarians all the trouble.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me show you the information on this huge sea serpent. Um, so you should see it pop up on your screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the sea serpent's name is Ungar, named after a barbarian slang word that roughly means death mother. She is a horrific sea serpent with acidic breath and sword-sized fangs who has been residing in the Sea of Grass for the last year. Since she took up residence there, she's lashed out and eaten multiple barbarians from the Claw Runner tribe, and even begun to lay eggs. The Sea of Grass and the surrounding wildlands region, including the Claw Runner camp, is in real danger of being overrun with sea serpent spawn in only a matter of months. The barbarians of the wildlands are used to fighting monstrous foes, but this may be one foe beyond their capabilities. And the Claw Runner barbarians are they're the second group of barbarians that you met. They're the ones you ran into at the very start of this adventure. Tehran's cart ran over one of them, and last time we played, you met kind of their chieftain named Goliath, and he's the one that's kind of anti-Tartec.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's also the one that worked with Albertus, all right, to shuffle all these kids into the Clockwork Dragon, because him and his compatriots, they found this mighty machine in the Sea of Grass, and they don't know much about it, but they know that it needs kids to run, and so they're trying to use it to fight off this sea serpent threat. All right.
All right.
Um, okay, so as we are right now, you guys are in the mighty Clockwork Dragon, and you're facing off against this giant sea serpent that's just risen from the waters. And so as it rises from the waters, you also see several other small creatures rise up alongside it, and they look like this. You'll see them pop up on your map. Okay, these are smaller serpents. They look like the spawn of this gigantic Ungar. And I'll show you a picture of what they look like. As they rise up out of the water, you can hear the barbarians around you shout, Ungarling! Ungarling! Over and over again. And here's what they look like. These are the Ungarlings. They're the spawn of Ungar, the dreaded sea serpent. These things are smaller than their mother and less powerful, but if they grow to full size, then the Wildlands is going to face one heck of an infestation. So these are the spawn of the gigantic mother. And last time you saw the remnants of some of these in the Clawrunner Barbarian camp. They attacked the camp in the evening.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, we are just going to move briefly towards the interior of the Clockwork Dragon. If you remember last time, you also caught a glimpse of the inside of the thing. And you and Claudia and then Sparky, your griffin, as well as all the kids and Quentin and Sybil are set up shop inside and are making all the machines run. And steam is pouring out as the thing's locomotion begins. And you hear Quentin scream out, "All right, Lester Fester, it looks like it's Mortal Kombat time against this thing."
All right. He's at the...
Yeah,
He's
so
getting the weapons, I think.
yeah, so he's manning some of the weapons, and then with Alexander, and then Rosella and Sybil are manning more weapons. Then you and Claudia are up front, and so you hear Quentin scream out, "All right, me and Alexander, we'll take control of the limbs, and then my chick and Rosella over there, they'll take control of the wings, and then Lester Fester, you and Claudia form the head." I don't know what that means, but Gear Tinker used to say it whenever we got into this thing, and it always sounded super cool. Yeah, as revealed previously, Quentin was the guy that went on a joyride with the Clockwork Dragon and basically drove it into the mountains.
Yeah, crashed it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you and Claudia are at the front of the mechanism, and what happens is that you've got your hands on this gigantic wheel powering it, and as you do so, you see instructions actually appear in front of you, kind of projected out in front of the wheel, and this is what they look like. Okay. So you can click on this thing to see a bigger version of it, like a magnifying glass will pop up, and you should be able to click on it. Can you do that?
Hasn't come through yet.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Do you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what's called a stat block in D&D. All the monsters have one, and basically it's got the stats for any creature in the game, all right? And so here you can see the statistics of the gigantic Clockwork Dragon that you're in. Okay? And so if you look at it, it's kind of similar to the character sheet that you and Claudia have. It's got an armor class of 18, it's got hit points of 184, and it's got speed. Okay, a speed of 40 feet. The flying capabilities of the dragon are kind of screwed up at the moment because it's been stuck in muck for a long time. So it can't fly, but it can move about. And then you can see it's got strength, dexterity, constitution, just like you guys do. All right? And you don't really have to pay attention to too much information on here, but I'll just run through it briefly. If you look at actions right here, so these are the attacks that you can make as the Clockwork Dragon. Okay? And so normally if you want to attack, you make 3 attacks at once. Okay? You always have a multi-attack. You have a bite, you have a claw, you have a tail. And then the Clockwork Dragon has breath weapons. Okay? It's got fire, tar breath, and knockout gas breath. And each one does a certain amount of damage on when it's applied. And then finally, if you look at the bottom, legendary actions. Because the Clockwork Dragon is so strong, it has what's called legendary actions. And these are special things that really strong creatures in D&D have. You've got 3 legendary actions that you can take, and you can choose from one of the options below. Only one legendary action can be used at a time, and only at the end of another creature's turn. You can kind of see what they are here. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Okay.
Alright, so this is basically your attack options as you power the dragon. These are the instructions you can follow that are projected in front of you. Okay? And that'll be in your this will be in your handout section on the right hand side. Okay. Alright, so we'll just go back to the main okay, and so what happens now is that combat's going to start, and I want you to roll initiative. You're rolling initiative for the dragon. Okay, the Clockwork Dragon, as you guys are controlling it. Okay, that's a 20. Very good. Alright, so let me just add you. I'll add a turn for this thing. Alright. So the Clockwork Dragon rolls a 20. And let me see what Ungar, the sea serpent, rolls. Okay, Ungar the sea serpent rolls a 19. So it's going to go right after you, basically. And then what happens now is, because you've got a whole bunch of barbarian allies with you, and the sea serpent's got a whole bunch of smaller sea serpent spawns surrounding it. So we're going to simplify and streamline this. I'm just going to make one turn for all the allies of the battle, and then I'm going to make one turn for all the enemies of the battle. And they're just going to go after each other. Alright, so the allies roll a 7. Alright, so the barbarians go 7, and then let's see what the sea serpent spawn roll. The sea serpent spawn roll a 5. Alright. Okay. So first up is you guys controlling the Clockwork Dragon. What will you do? Take a look at your options.
Wait, where do I find that? Is that in the sheet?
Yeah, that's on the sheet. So if you if you click on the right-hand side, there's a little journal tab up top. Okay, and then when you click on that, that's everything that you've uncovered so far. I can also just show it to you if that's faster here.
Let's see, actions.
Yeah, so you have a couple, you have actions that you can take. And I'd probably start by choosing either to do the dragon's multi-attack, which is a three attacks altogether, bite, claw, tail, or you can use a breath weapon if you like.
Oh.
Yeah, you have quite a bit to choose from. So your two breath weapons are fire, tar, breath. You can breathe fire, so you can breathe fire at the enemy, or knockout gas, and that shoots out gas from the interior of the dragon, and that will make the enemies unconscious, presumably. Now, some enemies are immune to that, but it's up to you whether or not you want to use it.
I think I'm going to use the fire tar breath.
Okay, fire tar breath. So the dragon, it's going to spray flaming tar in a 30-foot cone. All right. So would you like to move the dragon a little bit closer to Ungar first?
Yeah, well, let's see. Yeah, kind of far away. Yeah, why don't we do that?
Yeah. So you should be able to control it. Now you should be able to move it. I think. Try moving it. Yeah, that's about as close as you can get. All right, and so what this is going to do? It's going to shoot out flaming tar in a 30-foot cone. All right. So the way this works is a cone is basically, so it's going to be like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. All right, 5, 10, 15. Oh, sorry, not quite that. It's gonna look more like this. 5, 10, 15, 25, 30. 5, 10, 15, 25, 30. 5, 10, 15, 25, 30. All right, it's gonna look roughly like this. All right, so it's gonna get the main sea serpent and some of its kin. Do you want to move even closer?
Yeah, can I go closer?
Yeah, you should be able to move kind of like move. You could let's see, you can move about 40 feet. Move up maybe 2 more squares. To the right. Yeah, there you go. So this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. All right, this will pretty much get most of them like that. All right, and okay, and so what happens is that you and Claudia maneuver the beast closer, and then you scream out that you want to use the fire tar breath. All right, and this is one of the weapon systems, and you can hear Quentin pulling levers in the back, and all of the children are moving their feet up and down and controlling the movements of this thing as it plods through the earth, and you can hear Quentin screaming fire tar breath and like pressing a button, and then gigantic flames shoot out from the mouth of the dragon, and it looks something like this. See if I can make it appear. Looks something like that. There you go. Yeah. Just flames firing out from the dragon, breathing fire on this monster. And okay, so now let's see. So the monsters need to make a dexterity saving throw to try to survive. So first I'll roll for Ungar. Okay, Ungar got rolled only a 4 + 1. Okay, so Ungar fails the dexterity saving throw and is going to take damage. Let's see what the Ungarling, the children, what they roll. All right, the children also fail. Okay, so they all fail their dexterity saving throws. Okay, and then so Ungar, the sea serpent, takes 35 points of damage. All right, and then for the children, let's see what happens. All right, with this fire attack, you have done 35 points of damage on four of the children as well. Okay, the rest are still standing. Their mother blocked most of the fire from them. All right. All right, so that's you. Okay, and so you've used the fire attack, and so on this little instruction sheet here, you know how it says under breath weapons recharge 5 to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what that means is now you've used up your fire breath weapon. In order for you to use it again, you need to roll a d6, and if it ends on a 5 or a 6, then that attack is considered recharged. So like it's like you're recharging the mechanism used to control the flames. All right.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So for now, you've used up your fire breath. All right. So now it's Ungar, the gigantic sea serpent's turn. All right. Ungar, the sea serpent, is let's see what she's going to do. Okay. Ungar, the sea serpent, is going to come at you with attacks. She lunges forward, and this vicious sea serpent does a 3-pronged strike at you as well. All right, let's see what happens. For her first attack, she tries to bite you. She rolls a she's going to roll a 19 to hit. As the Clockwork Dragon, your armor class is 18. All right, so that will hit. She's going to attack again. The next one is a 9. She gets a +11, so that will hit 2 as well. And then so let me just see if her third attack also hits. All right, so all 3 of her attacks will hit. All right, so here's how much damage you get up. 2d10. All right, first attack. First attack does 17 damage on you. Right, so if you click on the Clockwork Dragon, and little bubbles should pop up, okay, and you'll see your stats for the dragon. I think you're at 170 hit points right now for the dragon, and it's got 18 armor class. Okay? And then the Ungar's second attack is also going to connect, and that does 15 points of damage on you. Right, and its third attack finally It does... How much damage? Let's see. Third attack does 12 points of damage. All right, so so the sea serpent just slashing out with its claws, smacking against the metal of the Clockwork Dragon, and inside you can feel yourself shaking back and forth, just dong, as the blows impact you, and you've taken a sizable chunk of damage. The Clockwork Dragon is at 143 hit points right now. Okay.
Okay.
All right, now it's time for your barbarian allies to go, and the barbarian allies, they're disorganized right now, and they're moving to try to fight against the sea serpent spawn, and they're trying to come closer, and so this is what happens. I'm just going to simplify this and move them in waves. All right, you've got the barbarian allies. They go splashing across the field. They're coming around to try to help you, and you can hear lots of barbarian war cries as the barbarians go traipsing through the mud and trying to fight at these demonic spawn that have taken over the battlefield. And you can see Ven and Kerrigan, and then the members of the Claw Runner tribe, Goliath and Zophi. They've got their battle axes, and they're just clanging and smashing. And unfortunately, the Ungar sea serpent spawn, they rolled a little bit higher. And unfortunately, what happens is that the sea serpents push back the barbarians, and 2 of the barbarians fall victim to attacks from the serpents and fall to the ground dead, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got these 2 here, these 2 females. They've fallen down, and the sea serpents are just fighting against the barbarians, back and forth. All right. So now it's back to you. What will you do in the Clockwork Dragon? I'll show you the controls again. Here you go.
Let's see. I guess I'll just do the multi-attack.
Yeah. So you'll make 3 attacks. And so basically, roll a d20 3 times to see if they hit or not. They should hit, because if you notice, you get a plus 11. Each one says plus 11 to hit. So whatever you roll, it's going to be a plus 11 to that. All right, the first one is a 4. Okay, so all of these will hit because of that added plus 11 bonus. All right. So now the first attack you do is going to be a bite attack. So roll 2d10 plus 6. All right, 16 points of damage. So you yell out instructions to Rosella and Sybil, who maneuver the wings downwards, and then the head jumps forwards, and then the Clockwork Dragon takes a bite out of Ungar. 16 points of damage. And now, next up, you're going to do a claw attack. So that's going to be 2d6 plus 6. 2d6 plus 6. All right, 11 points of damage. So once again, you hear Quentin screaming out as the claws of the Clockwork Dragon come to life and slash across Ungar like Wolverine and X-Men, just slashing across the beast, and then they connect, and you hear Ungar let out a scream. And finally, you do a tail attack. You get to smack it with your tail. That's going to be 2d8 plus 6. It's going to do bludgeoning damage. 17 points of damage. All right. Where would you like to hit it with the tail? Do you want to aim for a particular body part?
I would go for. I guess it's its head.
Okay, so you yell instructions, following the instructions that you see in front of you for the co-pilots in back to swing the Clockwork Dragon around. The thing swings its tail around. As you can see in the picture, its tail has a big spiky point on the bottom of it, and so the spiky point just whoosh, like it slices right through Ungar's cheek and comes out the other cheek, and then pulls it out, and it does that damage. So Ungar reels backwards and looks visibly injured. Currently, Ungar's hit points are lower than your hit points in the Clockwork Dragon. So keep it up. All right, and unfortunately now Ungar is gonna come at you with an attack of its own. All right, so Ungar is going to rear backwards and use its poison breath attack. It's also got breath attacks that it can use. All right, so similar to you, it's going to shoot out poison in a 60-foot cone. Right, so it's basically going to shoot out this area here. Basically, I'm gonna just rough it, but it shoots out poison all over the place. Just blasts acidic muck from its mouth, and this is what it looks like. If I can, let's see. I don't know. This won't really appear at the moment, but let's see. Oh crap! My effects. Oh, there we go. Yeah. You should see it now. Whole bunch of effects. Do you see these Photoshop effects?
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay. Yeah, they should pop up. Anyway, these ghetto Photoshop effects are popping up. If not, you can see them in the video. I just like using them because I. Because they're part of my Roll20 Pro membership, so that's why I want to get my money's worth.
Nice.
All right.
It took a little while. I mean, internet's.
It took a little while. So delayed reaction is the poison ejects itself from Ungar's esophagus, and then it slams into you and then several of the barbarians standing alongside of you. All right. And so this is poison breath, and now it's very fortunate for you because if you look at your Clockwork Dragon stats. I'll show them to you again briefly. If you look at your Clockwork Dragon stats, I believe you are immune to poison, actually. Because as a mechanical construct, you can't, that's not really going to do anything to you.
Yeah.
Obviously. So I'll just give you a sense of how this works. So if you look at your Clockwork Dragon stats, you'll see a section in red at the top that says condition immunities. All right? And one of those is poisoned. Okay? So you cannot be poisoned, obviously, because you're a machine. And so the stuff just slaps on the windshield, and it's just green muck. And you hear Quentin screaming out, "Did it just barf on us, Lester Fester?" Unfortunately for the barbarians, they are not immune.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. All right. And so, unfortunately, let's see what happens to them. Okay. Only... 4 of the barbarians take a shitload of damage and unfortunately fall down dead. And so it's going to be this one. One of the females here. One of the males. And then one of the wolves. Alright. It's unfortunate. Alright, but Ungar lets out a loud shriek because it's confused as to why the poison didn't do anything to you. Alright? And so, unfortunately, the Ungarlings are swarming the barbarians. The barbarians aren't doing so well. 3 more of the barbarians die. You're not rolling so hot at the moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Barbarian forces are getting a little decimated. Right? The wolves are falling victim to the serpents, and the serpents are getting closer and closer to the Clockwork Dragon. Right? Back to you. What will you do?
Wait. So can I use that? Have I reloaded my my fire, or is that?
Roll a d6. On a 5 and a 6, it will reload.
Just d6.
Just a regular d6. 1d6. Nope, it's still out of commission. You rolled a 3. It's still cooling down.
Okay, I'll use a multi. Go back to the multi attack.
Okay, you go back to the multi-attack. All right, then you're going to roll me, once again, 3d20s to make sure that they hit. And they probably should hit, even if you roll low, because you get a substantial buffer. You get a plus 11. Just 3d20s, see what happens. All right, the first one is going to miss. All right, because that's only a 3. And then even with an 11, that's only a 14 total. All right, so that doesn't pierce Ungar's armor rating, but the next 2 will hit. All right, the next 2 will hit. And so the first attack is going to be your claw attack. That's 2d6 plus 6.
2d6 plus 6.
Slashing with the claws like Wolverine. All right, 9 damage. All right, the next one is going to be, once again, the tail attack. That is going to be 2d8 plus 6. Oh, 17. All right. So once again, any particular places you want to aim at with both attacks? The claws and the tail?
Let's aim for its neck.
All right, you aim for the neck. The claws run down both sides of the neck. Just dig into the flesh, and you can see like red streaks on the sides of Ungar's neck, and then you wallop it with the tail as well. Okay, and so once again on your character sheet, sorry, on your thing for the Clockwork Dragon, you also have knockout gas breath. Okay, and then you also have these things called legendary actions, and legendary actions are basically things that you can take at any time. Okay, they're basically reactions. So for example, if Ungar hits you on the next turn, you can choose to take a legendary action, instantly make like a tail attack or a wing attack.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it works. Oh, and also, the Clockwork Dragon, when it goes down to 0 HP, it self-destructs. So, hopefully that won't happen to you guys, but, we'll see. Alright. Ungar lets out a shriek, a loud roar. Alright, this is an attack that Ungar has called Frightful Presence. Alright, every creature within range of Ungar has to succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become frightened for 1 minute. And when someone's frightened, it basically means that they cannot attack the person that frightened it. They cannot attack Ungar. Alright? So, luckily for you, the Clockwork Dragon is immune to being frightened, because it's a construct. Unfortunately, the barbarians are not. Alright, the barbarians, unfortunately, are frightened, okay? And they scatter as Ungar makes its horrific streak. They have to move backwards. They cannot take attacks on Ungar. The barbarians aren't doing so well at the moment.
Yeah.
Alright, they fall back. Alright, try to move back behind you, so that you can hopefully protect them, and you can hear Kerrigan and Ven screaming out in barbarian, rally the troops, move backwards, or things that sound like that, because you can't really understand them. Let's see how the fight between the barbarians and the Ungarling serpent spawn goes. Alright. Luckily, the barbarians rolled a bit better than the Ungarlings this time, and so 4 of the Ungarlings fall victim to the barbarians' axes. Alright. From the dashboard of the Clockwork Dragon, you can see Goliath. He's the big guy, the chieftain of the barbarians. You can see him let out a battle cry and just spin around in his axe, just a spinning maneuver, and he cleaves off the skulls of 2 of the Ungarlings. And then you see Kerrigan and Vane attack 2 more of them to the ground and pummel them into the water of the Sea of Grass. All right, back to you, Lester in the Clockwork Dragon. What will you do? I'll show you the controls.
Let me see if I can. It was a D6, right?
Yeah, do it. D6 to see if it's recharged. Trying to breathe that fire again.
Actually, you know what? I could use the. Actually, wait a second. I could use the knockout gas, right?
You can use the knockout gas. Yeah, you haven't used that at all.
I'll use that because it doesn't have to reload, right?
Yeah, you haven't used it yet. And so, if you read the text, it says, the dragon exhales knockout gas in a 60-foot cone. Each creature in that area must succeed on a DC 18 Constitution saving throw or fall unconscious for 10 minutes. Now, this does end if it takes damage, or if someone uses an action to wake it. But it basically puts certain things out of the fight. Now this will target anyone within range.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But it could be useful if you want to just subdue the Ungar sea serpent spawn.
Yeah. Can I shout instructions for the barbarians to like get out of the way?
Not at the moment, because you can shout at them to get out the way on their turn. But see, they go after you. So if you use it now, they won't have time to get out the way. So you can.
Right, well, actually, you know what? I'll save it. I'll save it, and then I'll do it. Like we'll save it as like a thing. So like, for later. Let me just see if maybe my thing is recharged. 6. Yeah.
Oh, 6. Okay. Yeah. So your fire breath is back. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's recharged, and there's kids pulling at the wheels, and Quentin and Alexander dashing off at buttons with their fingertips, and then you hear a sound like a ding sound, and the thing is ready to go again.
All right. Okay. So it's okay.
It's a 30-foot cone, and so what you can do is you can kind of there's barbarian allies up here and up here. You could try to aim it like more at the sea serpent, aim it downwards, kind of, so that it hits some of the Ungarlings as well, and avoids your allies.
Yeah. If I go kind of like, oops. If I do it, I don't think I can draw, but like below here.
So you can do it like there, like in that direction.
Yeah.
Downwards, and that'll be yeah. Yeah, it'll basically go down this way. Yeah, like down this way, and then it's a cone shape, so it'll basically go out like this as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna do that?
Yeah.
All right. So you shoot out your breath, and hold on, I gotta use my effects. Boom, boom. I don't know if you can see this. Oh shit, that's not fire, that's frost.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Yeah. I can make a what is this? This is a yeah. Poof, poof. All right. So yes, these graphics straight from the PS1 era. All right. So these okay. All the creatures in there are going to have to make saving throws to see how much damage they take. Ungar rolls a. All right. Ungar fails its saving throw, and the Ungarlings as well. Let's see, what do they roll? The Ungarlings. Oh, ooh, okay. The Ungarlings. Okay, the Ungarlings succeed. So Ungar takes the brunt of the damage, right? Ungar takes 35 points of damage as the breath singes her. I think I might have referred to Ungar as a he before, but it's actually a she. As Ungar takes 35 points of damage, and Ungar's flesh is starting to look singed from the effects of 2 fire blasts, all right? And meanwhile, the Ungarlings don't take any damage. Oh, actually, they do take some damage. They take half as much damage. Oh, luckily for you, this Ungarling here dies because it was already you did damage to it the first time. And then these two are the 2 others within range of the attack are heavily wounded. Okay. And now, would you also like to shout out your orders to the barbarians, like move back?
Yeah, retreat.
Yeah.
Get behind. Like, actually, why don't you just get behind me? Get behind the dragon.
Okay. There is a conveniently marked button on the dashboard in front of you that says loudspeaker. So you can press it, and what will you scream out?
Watch out for the next attack. Get behind the dragon.
Okay. You hear some recognition from the few barbarians that understand your language. It's, Kerrigan and Ven, and they start translating to the others. All right, and they'll take note of that their next turn. All right. Now it's Ungar's turn. Very pissed off. A very unhappy mother. Ooh, what will she do? Well, her poison breath didn't work on you, and her frightful presence didn't work on you, so she's going to just have to pummel you with her regular attacks. good thing you're a machine. First attack will hit. Second attack will not hit. Second attack will miss. It misses your armor class rating. Third attack will hit. Alright. And so for the first one, she does 2d10 plus 6 damage. Alright. For her first attack, she bites at you with her jaws, alright? And she wraps her jaws around the neck of the Clockwork Dragon and shakes it back and forth, just shakes, rattles, and rolls. And then you and Claudia are like shifting back and forth in the control. And Claudia is yelling out, "Oh, I'm going all topsy-turvy, Lester!" And you hear Quentin screaming, "Son of a bitch!" And then the next attack, Ungar is going to make a tail swipe on you with her big sea serpent tail. Let's see how much damage that does. Alright, that also does 14 points of damage. So she kind of knocks you around with her jaws, and now tail right to the torso of the Clockwork Dragon. And some of the children get dislodged from their seats and go falling about back behind you before standing up and then rushing back to their seats because they're all brainwashed, thankfully. And all they know is how to maintain this machine. Alright? And Quentin's screaming out, "We're still standing, Lester! I think if we keep this up, we might be able to take it down." Alright. So, your allies are going next. Your allies are going to fall back. Alright? They're following your instructions, so they're falling back. About as far as they can go. The barbarians are just routing themselves backwards, the surviving barbarians. The wolves are also going back as well. Okay. Falling back behind you. Alright. Okay. And then let me just see what the Ungarlings do during this particular turn. Alright. Okay. As the barbarians fall back, unfortunately, these two wolves right here, as they were passing by, they got chomped to death by the Ungarling in front of them. Yeah. Not so good. Alright. And the Ungarling sea serpents continue to advance. Alright. Now, actually, as this is happening, we just go to the interior of the Clockwork Dragon for a minute. You should be switching.
Yeah.
Okay. And so as this is going on, and as your Clockwork Dragon construct has been knocked back and forth, knocked topsy-turvy, alright, one of the goddamn things sneaks aboard. Alright, just appears through a crack at the bottom of the Clockwork Dragon, sneaks aboard, and then Sybil's like, "We got a problem," and Quentin's like, "Oh shit, we got a massive worm." What will you do?
Well, we will cut its head off through the thing.
Okay, who's gonna do that? Who's gonna do that?
I think it looks like Sybil is closest, right?
All right, you would like Sybil to attack it?
Yeah.
All right, so Sybil will go forward, and she will try to lunge out with her rapier and try to attack the thing. Let me do an attack roll for her. All right, Sybil unfortunately rolls only a 1. So she completely whiffs and just screws up. She's so disoriented from being tossed back and forth that her rapier just goes into the ground instead of the sea serpent. And it's stuck now. All right. It's stuck. And the sea serpent is going to do an attack against her. All right, the sea serpent tries to do a bite attack. And the sea serpent also fucks up. The sea serpent also whiffs. And so it's just you know, a snake on a plane, basically. Well, a snake and a dragon, and Sybil's there, and so we'll go back to this at the end of another turn. Meanwhile, we go back to the main combat. All right, back to the main combat. Lester LeFoe still maintaining control over the Clockwork Dragon despite a sea serpent having snuck its way on board. What will you do?
Okay, we're gonna use the poison.
You're going to use the poison. All right. Most excellent. So that's knockout gas, and so you're going to shoot knockout gas in a 60-foot cone. And where will you shoot it?
And, I can't draw on here, right? Can you draw?
I think you can, yeah. Can you?
Okay.
Go to the left-hand panel, and there's a little paintbrush, and there's a freehand option. You should be able to do that.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Oh,
Here.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can draw.
No, now you can just start drawing dongs everywhere on the map.
Let's see, what's the radius?
It's a 60-foot cone, so every square is 5, so it's going to go really far. It's basically going to go to the end of the map.
Oh, it's a 60-foot?
Yeah.
The radius is 60 feet?
Well, it goes outwards 60 foot, and it's like a cone shape.
It was like 10. That's what. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So if you wanted to, you could also aim it like downwards and hit all the Ungarlings beneath you.
Yeah.
That might be slightly better.
I don't know. Do something like this.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, something like that would be better. And it would also spray. It would also spray and hit Ungar, the main Ungar, as well.
I think it's probably right about there.
Yeah, so basically go like that, basically, and it would also get the main mama, big bad mama Jama.
All that.
Yeah. Oh, so that's the fire one. Oh, here, check this out. Oh, yes. So you shoot out, you pull another lever, and you shoot out knockout gas this time to try to get these vermin to fall unconscious. All right, so the main Ungar, the big bad mama, has to make a Constitution saving throw, and so what does she get? All right, interesting. The main Ungar, after she gets hit by the stuff, she lets out a strange, weakened cry, and then she actually slumps down to the ground. She is temporarily unconscious. All right, let me see how our kids are doing. Her kids roll a 13. Right, her kids are also all unconscious. Very good. Claudia looks at you and is like, "We can clean the floor with them now, Lester." Oh shit, there's still that one that's not on board. All right, so interesting. Okay, so Ungar, the main Ungar, she is unconscious. She can't do anything on her next turn. Very good. Your allies are going to continue to fall back, well, they're going to continue. Well, let me see. They're going to continue to fall back. Let me see if they're smart enough to notice that these sea serpents have fallen unconscious. No, they're not smart enough. They're too busy running backwards. Too busy running backwards. Don't exactly see what happens. All right. And meanwhile, we go to the inside of the Clockwork Dragon. All right. We're back inside. Who do you want to try to deal with this intruder? Sparky can also attack, by the way. Sparky's bouncing up back and forth. The little griffin has never seen such excitement.
Oh. Yeah. Sure. Oops. I'm trying stuff.
Now, Sparky leaves some skid marks on the floor as suddenly in nervousness the griffin just urinates. A nervous urination.
Okay, why don't we try Sparky? Let me try.
All right, yeah, Sparky. Okay, so let's see what Sparky can do. All right, so Sparky, if you remember, Sparky had her own character sheet. So if you go to, you're on her. You should be seeing her bio now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go to character sheet, you can see what she can do. She can't do too much yet, but she does have a little claw attack in the middle where it says attacks and spell casting, and you can click on that to see if she'll hit with her claws or if she'll miss. Ah, yes. So, Sparky the Griffin. Oh dear. All right. Sparky just goes and then pops on over to the Griffin, and just is too young to know what to do, and just the claws come out, And Sparky's like, meow, meow, and then the claws go into the floor instead. And Claudia's like, Lester, we need to train her. Our baby's gonna get herself killed before she even turns 1 year old. Now, Ungarling is going to do an attack. Ungarling, let's see, what's Sparky's armor class? Sparky's got an armor class 14. All right.
Oh,
It's armor class 14. It's pretty good. So the sea serpent doesn't manage to do any damage against it with its attack. All right. Now, Sybil is currently engaged with the sea serpent. Would you like Sybil to attack again?
Yeah. Why don't we try her? Yeah.
Okay, she'll try attacking again. Sybil, let's see. Sybil, unfortunately, only rolled a 4. Just everybody fucking up. Sybil only rolled a 4, and unfortunately, that's not enough to do anything. Yeah, the thing has a pretty high armor class. Alright? That's about all you can do this turn. Alright, we'll go back to the main battle. Got a baby in the belly and a big mama outside. Luckily, the big mama is asleep right now. Alright. Lester LeFoe, what will you do?
Oh.
As your furry child fights your battles for you, behind you, what will you do with the opponent in front?
Oh, we're gonna go in for the kill.
Gonna go in for the kill. All right. The thing is asleep now. Now, if you do attack it, it will wake up again. Okay.
Yeah. What was? Can I? Let's see. Did I use the fire? I did already.
Yeah, that fire's got to recharge again. You can try to see if it'll recharge. Roll a d6. It recharges on a 5 and a 6. You can try to roast. Oh,
1d6.
yeah, 1d6.
Oh.
Oh, 1. All right, you try to activate the fire, and then the mechanism jams.
All right, so we'll go through the.
And Quentin's like, God damn machines! Damn the physics!
We'll use the multi-attack. Yeah.
All right, multi-attack on the big mama, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So once again, 3 d20s, and we'll see if they hit. We'll see which attacks hit and which don't. First one, 18. That will most definitely hit. Next one is. Okay. Next one is an 8. That will also hit with your plus 11 to hit. All right. Roll one more. Okay. All 3 of them will hit. Very good. All right. So the first one is going to be your bite attack. That is 2d10 plus 6. Alright, 17 damage. Very good. Alright, the next one is going to be your claw attack. That is 2d6 plus 6. Alright, that is 10 damage. Very good. And then finally, your tail attack. Tail attack is 2d8 plus 6. 16 points of damage. Flurry of attacks against Ungar. Ungar lunges back awake. Ungar is looking rough. Alright, Ungar's still standing. And Ungar would be a strong opponent right now if you guys were fighting her on foot, but you're fighting her in a big mechanical dragon, and she is looking rough. Alright. Now it's going to be her turn to get back at you. Alright. What's she going to do? She is going to hit you right back. She rolls a d20 on her first attack. That will hit. She rolls again. And second one. Let's see the second one. Second one misses. Alright. Does not hit. You have an armor class rating of 19 at the okay, only one attack hits. She's so disoriented from your blows that only her bite attack hits. Just messing her up. Alright, she does 2d10 plus 6 damage on you. She does 19 damage on the Clockwork Dragon. Trying to bite through the wings of the beast. The Clockwork Dragon's wings are already kind of screwed up, and now they're even more screwed up, just bent out of shape, and you can hear the creaking of metal. Alright, so now your allies. What are your allies going to do? Let's see if they notice that the Ungarlings spawn are... Oh no, they're too busy running for their lives like a bunch of dinguses. The barbarians move backwards, right, and congregate in this pool here. All right, and so they're done with their backwards advance, and on their next turn, maybe they'll be able to go forward and notice that the Ungarlings next to you are asleep. All right, now we go back to the inside fight. All right, back inside. So it's a mess right now. What do you want to do?
Let's have Quentin join the fray.
All right. Quentin jumps off from his position on the machinery, and he runs up. He's like, all right, let me. And Quentin is going to, Quentin has let's see, he's got a tri-staff strike. So he pulls out his takedown 3-piece staff, and he gets to hit 3 times with this. No, wait, yeah. I think he gets to hit 3 times with this thing.
3 times. Yeah, they hit.
Yeah. So let's see. His first attack misses like a bitch. His second attack almost connects, but not quite. He just misses like a bitch. They all miss. Every single one misses. You can hear him cry out, "What? My powers! They've been screwed up! I can't fight under this atmosphere. This machinery is throwing off my rhythm." All right, Quentin just whiffed completely. Sybil and Sparky, who can do something right now?
Yeah. Okay.
What would you like them to do? Attack?
Yeah.
Who goes first?
Let's try Sybil.
All right, Sybil. Sybil rolls a 2. This is not going to work. Yep. All right, Sparky. Sparky the Griffin. You want to have Sparky do a claw attack as well, right?
Sure.
All right. I'll just click that on Sparky's character sheet. All right. Nope. Not going to work. This thing's got a really high armor class. All right. And so the Ungarling Sea Serpent is going to try to attack someone. The Ungarling Sea Serpent rolls a 10 total plus its modifiers, and I think that's not enough to take down anyone's AC. So it's just a crap show back here. Nobody's doing damage against each other. We go back to the main fight. This is kind of like the mini campaign we ran with the Wayfarer and Abram and the Rat, where just nobody was doing damage against each other. All right, so but at least you're doing damage to the Death Mother in front of you. All right, Lester LeFoe, back to you.
Okay. Let me see if the fire works. Back to the fire. Let's see.
Nope.
4.
Yep. Nope.
All right. Let's. I'll just go back to the bite thing.
Okay. The multi attack.
Multi attack. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Let's see. It's
3 d20s. All right, the first one will miss. The second one will hit, and the next one will miss because only one of them will hit. Will pierce its armor class rating. All right, so that's going to be your claw attack. So that's going to be 2d6 plus 6. 14 points of damage. All right, Ungar is looking really, really rough. Really rough. Its teeth are starting to fall out. And dark green blood is beginning to pour out from the creature. Various injuries. Ungar is... Alright. Ungar is going to actually take a legendary action against you. It has legendary actions as well. It's basically a reaction, so it makes a tail attack on you as you pummel it. It makes a tail attack on you automatically as a reaction, and that hits. Alright, and so it's going to do an extra. Alright, it does 14 damage on you, kind of like a reaction with its tail. It used one of its legendary actions and just did a tail swipe on you. And now it's got its 3 normal attacks, similar to you. The first one hits, second one hits definitely, the third one, okay, third one also hits. So it basically did 4 attacks on you all at once here. Alright. So the first one, let's see how much damage it does. The first strike. Ooh, the first attack does 26 points of damage on you. Alright. The second one, it does a claw attack. It goes in for the slashing damage. That one does 13 points of damage on you. Alright, and finally it does a tail attack, similar to how you do your tail attacks. And that ends up as an 11 points of damage, alright? So if you click on the Clockwork Dragon and look at your HP right now, you're at 32 hit points. Alright, 32 hit points. Ungar, the sea serpent, is still looking less than you, but you've also taken a beating. Alright, now let's see what your allies are doing. The barbarians, let's see what they're up to. And alright, the allies notice that the creatures are, the Ungarling sea serpents are unconscious, and they begin to come forward to attack them. A few of the brave ones. However, they don't manage to get quite as close as they need to make their attacks. They're basically within this distance right now, so not as close as they need to be, but perhaps on next turn. All right, those Ungarling sea serpents are still asleep. All right, now we go back to the most exciting fight ever. Back inside. All right, you can have one other person join if you like. Or you can just have these bozos fight it out. The thing's got a high. The thing's not impenetrable. It's just everybody's rolling poorly,
Yeah.
even with their modifiers.
Yeah. Let's just try these couple guys again.
Okay, who goes first?
Let's try Sybil.
Sybil. All right. Sybil rolls a 9. Let's see, what modifier does she get? Plus her rapier's a 5. Nope,
14.
Not enough. Yeah, 14. Not enough to pierce its armor class. Armor class is above 14. All right. Who else do you want? Quentin next?
Yeah.
All right, your boy Quentin. All right, his tri-staff strikes. He gets 3 chances at this. Will any one of... Oh, 15. All right, the first one will hit. First one will hit because he gets a +7 added to all his attacks. With the next one will hit. And they'll all hit. Very good. All right. So he does 1d. He does 1d8 plus 3 basically. So he does 6 damage with his first attack. All right, and he's going to swing his staff down again. He does 5 damage with his next attack. And one more time. And he does 5 damage with his final attack, which is enough to kill the creature. Alright, so just whips his staff around with one final... It just pummels it against the side of the head, and its brains go flying out and smack against the side of the Clockwork Dragon. And then you hear Quentin scream out, "I'm tired of these motherfucking sea serpents on this motherfucking Clockwork Dragon!" And then runs back to his controls. Sybil's like, "That's disgusting." And then goes back to her controls. Sparky says, "Meow," and then starts eating the remains. Claudia's like, "Oh no, Sparky, you're gonna get the diarrhea most severe. Worse than non-Leslie's diarrhea back in the mansion in the last adventure." Alright, but finally that threat has been eliminated. Now we get to go back to the main bout. Main fight. Here we go. Back in action. Lester LeFoe, what will you do?
Okay, let me try one more time. Let's see if we can make with the fire.
Alright, make with fire. Roll d6. Oh, ball sack. No, not good enough. Still mechanism's jammed.
Okay. Alright, well, I will go with the triple attack.
Triple attack. Triple duty. So once again, 3d20s. Just make sure they all hit. Oh, first one's a terrible failure. Next one hits. Oh, a terrible failure. So only one hits. You know, one of them will hit. Let me just... That's your... that, I believe, is your claw attack, I think. So that's a 2d6 plus 6.
Yes. Okay, 2d6 plus...
A 13. All right. How would you like to do this? Because it was at 10 hit points, and you hit a 13. How would you like to deliver the final blow?
Okay. This is the claw, right?
Yeah, this is a claw. Yeah.
We're gonna take both claws and grab it by the tail and swing it around and chuck it into the swamp.
All right. So basically, you grab the creature by the tail and then swing it. One rotation. Two rotation. Claudia's like, oh my god, you're getting carried away by this violence, Lester. Another rotation. Hold up. You're technically swinging it into both the barbarians and the Ungarlings. Hold on. I gotta make dexterity checks for them. The barbarians. Okay. The unconscious Ungarlings. Okay, the barbarians actually duck. They duck. They manage to duck, and they scatter. The Ungarlings, the baby Ungarlings, they rolled poorly. They go scattering as well, but in a violent way. They got knocked backwards. All of them are killed by the impact of their mother being swung around like a club. You hear Quentin screaming out, "Yeah, Lester Fester, you formed the head! I still don't know what that means!" And then finally the thing goes flying down into the swamp. There's actually an old rock formations in the swamps, like right here. Right here, and the thing goes finally just plows into the ground, just leaving skid marks everywhere and bursting forth rocks as you just shoot this thing forward, and then splashes of water as it lands in the ground in a pile of muck, blood, and swamp matter. Ungar, the great Death Mother, is deceased. All of its children are deceased. And even the little one that crept inside the Clockwork Dragon is deceased. And you guys stand victorious.
Oh. You need that Final Fantasy music.
Yeah, oh yeah. Da, 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 da. All right. So quickly, we go back to you guys inside.
Okay.
You guys inside. And Claudia's just wiping sweat from her forehead. The Clockwork Dragon is still standing. I think its HP was like in the 30s. So, yeah, it was good. You guys are still standing. And Claudia's wiping off sweat, and it's like, oh my goodness, Lester. That was violent, but really cool. Quentin's like, oh, Lester Fester. That was a good fight. I'm satisfied for the remainder of the day. Alexander's like, oh my god, it was the coolest thing ever. And Quentin's like, Gear Tinker made this. It's good old Gear Tinking machinery. And Rosella, the girl, is like, we need to go outside. We need to check on everyone who was deceased. So it's good for you guys to go outside. All right. As you guys go outside, Claudia has to pull Sparky away from Ungarling guts. And it's like, don't eat that. You don't know where it's been. You'll get the diabetes. All right. So you guys are going to go outside. The kids are just mindlessly continuing to mull about the machinery, but they seem to sense that their function is done, and so they're just standing there. You can always come back to them later.
Yep.
Alright, so y'all are back outside now. Alright. I'll put you right here. You're back outside, and then so you see the barbarians, and the surviving barbarians have gathered around the carcass of the Death Mother, Ungar. And then you can see them also caring for their deceased. And some of the barbarians are weeping and packing up the bodies of their fallen comrades. But overall, as they look towards the huge carcass of the dead sea serpent lying across the sea of grass, and as they chatter to each other in their guttural language, you get the feeling that there is a sense of satisfaction that finally the plaguing beast that has been destroying their community for so many months has died, along with its terrible young. All right. So finally, Ven, your contact with the barbarians, comes up to you guys who are standing here, and then Ven says, "It was a grand battle. Much blood was spilled on the plains of the Sea of Grass today. We will not forget this day as long as we live, and we will not forget the battling that you did in the giant mechanical monster there. It was tremendous. How did you know how to work it?"
It's all in the reflexes.
Never before have I seen such reflexes. You are a man of intriguing mystery, Mr. LeFoe. Your detective ability even goes into detecting the nature of machines. It is incredible. And so this one here, her name is Zophie. She's the one that you accidentally ran over with the cart in the beginning. And so she's also looking at the field of battle around her, and so she says something in the barbarian language. It sounds like Witcherin Kolamash Dexaslash. And Ven translates, and she says, it seems that Zophie is now, what is the right word? She is like a fangirl. I heard that word once before. A fangirl of you, Lester LeFoe. She says you are a true warrior who can command even the metallic beasts of legend to come to life, to deliver us from the Death Mother. Well done. Quentin's like, hey, not to toot my own horn, but I helped too. And Sybil's like, as did I. And Claudia's like, yeah, we all helped, including the kids. And Sparky lets out a, and as Sparky does, it coughs up and kind of throws up a hairball that has like an eyeball from Ungarling inside. And Claudia's like, oh my god, we got to teach it some table manners, Lester. So there's much going on back and forth right now. What would you like to do? Claudia turns to you and is like, well, what are our priorities now, Lester? This seems to be a done deal.
Well, let's talk with the other barbarian tribe.
Yeah. So the big man in charge, the one that hasn't been too friendly towards you, is Goliath Clawrunner. And he comes walking through the muck of the Sea of Grass, and he's used his gigantic axe to carve off a gigantic scale from Ungar's hide. Okay? And so the scale is quite honestly big enough to, like, make a shield. Alright? And so he comes up to you, and then slams the gigantic scale down into the ground and looks at it, and says something like, future shield for me in battle. And having exhausted his vocabulary, he turns towards the other women, and then they translate the next thing that he says to you. And Ven says, he says that he is grateful for your help in the fight, particularly when you warned us to move back from the dirty spawn of Ungar. He says that he lost many warriors, and the Clawrunner tribe must take time to heal and pick up the pieces. But he is thankful for what you have done. I am a bit puzzled. I have never seen Goliath so thankful before, so humbled. And Goliath actually holds out his palm towards you, and he had made like a blood oath. He'd cut his palm and, done the whole blood thing, and he holds out his palm towards you, and he grabs his weapon with the other hand, his axe, and then puts it down on the ground and knocks it down on the ground 3 times in the gesture of respect that the barbarians actually give to each other. And Kerrigan, the leader of the Grizzly Mane tribe, looks very impressed at the respect that this big man, her rival for the leadership of the tribes, is giving to you right now, an outsider.
I'm going to turn to I don't know, one of the other barbarians says, what do I do? Do I bow or something?
Well, I do not think he really expects you to do anything. He is right now is talking. He is chattering on about how this will be a legendary day, and they will sing songs in future song-telling days of the barbarians. And I get the feeling that he will amplify this story as the years go on and make it sound like he contributed much more than he actually did. Such is the nature of men like him. But perhaps this would be an opportune time to remind him of your bargain. I believe it was to let the children go?
Yes.
All right. And so what do you say to Goliath?
Well, so now the sea serpent's dead. We did have a deal.
Goliath nods and says, Deal. Deal okay. Deal good. You and children leave. You go home, and we are thankful. We will help you go home. And he gets mad because he's not able to express the words. And he turns towards Ven, and then Ven translates what he says. He says that, they're willing to escort you to the borders of the wildlands, you and the children. They will provide an escort through the wildlands so that you may return safely home and not be bothered by any creatures along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
And Goliath nods and says, Thank you, Tartec, man. And Quentin's like, or Claudia's like, I feel like one of us is getting a lot of the credit here, when he was actually more like a conglomerate that, worked all the levers and formed the head, as Quentin said. And Quentin's like, yeah, and what about that little asshole that snuck on board? Ugh. And then Goliath turns to all of you guys and says, Thank you, Tartex. Goodbye. And he turns back on his heel and goes back to carving up Ungar. All right, trying to carve up more pieces of her for his weapons, future weapons, I guess. So Claudia looks to you and is like, all right, so should we gather up the kids and then try to hardtail it out of here?
Yeah, we should gather up the kids, and somehow we have to snap them out of this funk they're in, or whatever it is, and get them back to the orphanage. And we have to figure out how to. Well, there's got to be somebody to take care of them. Well, we can leave that to the townspeople.
Yeah, let's focus on getting them back first, says Quentin. I can so y'all are gonna escort us to the border? And Kerrigan steps up and says, Yes, we will. Along with the Claw Runners, we will all go with you to the border and beyond, to Aquaria. Yes, that is where you came from?
Yep.
And Claudia's like, well, ain't there that treaty? You guys ain't allowed to step beyond the wildlands? And Ven says, well, perhaps we will make an exception in this case, and I believe your Tartec guards will understand if we come with a group of children, as long as you do not tell them that we are the ones who brainwashed them.
Yeah, well, we'll see what we can do once we get back to the city, talk with our king.
Because my fear is just that if we do not go with you all the way, there are chances that something will attack you. You do not want a rhino impaling your children, particularly after you have defeated such a greater opponent.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, what are we going to do with the dragon?
Well, what would you like to do with it? I don't know, says Claudia. I mean, leave it here, or it can't run without the kids. That's the thing.
Why? Well, why don't we fly back to Aquaria?
Ooh, all right. So then, do you even need us? Says Ven. Or perhaps, well, we
Not
would...
unless maybe you want to come on a ride.
Oh, says Quentin, but the problem is the thing can't fly. It's busted. The wings are busted. I did mention that earlier. The wings are busted, unfortunately. Yeah.
Oh.
It can't fly. It can move around, but it can't actually fly at the moment.
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
It seems a shame just to leave it there, though.
Quentin's like, should we... Look, maybe we should make an entrance. Like, maybe we could all get in the thing and then just plow our way through the wildlands step by step like gods and just walk into Aquaria, with our balls hanging out and show the world that we mean business.
Yeah. We could walk, right? We could walk there. No one would attack us in the thing, right?
It would be most interesting to ride in such a thing, as long as you can control it.
Well, come on in. Have you ever been in one of these things before?
No, says Ven, and Kerrigan also shakes her head. Goliath over there, he had control over it. Let me just check to make sure he is okay with this plan. And so the two barbarians go down and have a talk with the chief. There's back and forth and bickering, and then Goliath turns towards the Clockwork Dragon construct and turns towards you and seems kind of torn about having to lose this thing, this large weapon. And then the two women talk to him some more, and then they seem to remind him that the thing doesn't work without Tartec orphans. And once again, he looks torn. But then there was the whole matter of not having enough orphans, and now Albertus is dead, and now Ungar, the main source of, his problems, is dead as well. And so there's lots of back and forth, and finally you hear him say, "Gosh, Moflach," and it sounds something like, "Do what you will, I don't care." And finally he goes back to carving up the big beast. And then his wife comes over as well, and then is offering some conciliatory words, and seems to be going back and forth and trying to comfort him. Finally the women come up to you, and Kerrigan smiles and says he is annoyed that he will lose this great weapon, but at the same time he is also happy that Ungar is dead. And then Ven says, and he wishes to create new weapons from Ungar's scales, so it is sort of a second best prize for him. To be able to create weaponry from the scales of the Death Mother that was scorned of his people for so long. He will let you depart with this clockwork beast of yours.
Okay. Well, kids, let's pile back in. And...
All right, says Claudia. Let's do it to it. Quentin's like, oh yeah, we're going to be so cool. And so, along with a contingent of the barbarians, you guys pile back inside the Clockwork Dragon, okay? And you guys pile back inside and plod the Clockwork Dragon upwards past the Sea of Grass where you guys were, and start making your way through the wildlands, all right? All right, so you should be on the Wildlands map.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, so you're in the Wildlands. You're moving up, and it just goes, doof, 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 doof. And it's cool as it just plods into the earth. You can see the beasts are kind of running and trying to make way for this gigantic metallic monstrosity. Doof, doof, just steam moving forward. Doof, doof. And Kerrigan and Ven, and as well as the barbarians behind you, their eyes are just blown at the machinery around them. They've never seen anything like this. And you hear Ven whisper, "It is like we are one with the gods, the creators." And Quentin's like, "This ain't no creator shit. This is good old gear tinking technology that I technically commandeered and had a joyride on." And then Kerrigan's like, "Why is there a carcass of an Ungarling inside? Did one sneak onto here?" And Quentin's like, "Don't worry, I killed it. I smashed its brains open." And Sparky's like, "Wee!" And then Sparky starts chewing on the dead Ungarling again. And Claudia's like, "No, Sparky! You gotta go vegan from now on." All right. So, you guys leave the border of the wildlands, and once again, just start moving, making great progress across the main lands of the continent. Get closer and closer to your final destination. Finally, the grasslands and huge trees and mountains of the wildlands give way to the regular areas of Tartec, and then before you know it, you're back in the sleepy village of Aquaria, with a huge contingent of children, and a huge group of people in the town square, and a huge Clockwork Dragon just bashing its way past the houses, and here you are. And then the bottom part of the Clockwork Dragon opens and a staircase unfolds, and all you guys come out. Alright, a huge contingent of kids. A huge contingent... Oh, your horses aren't there. Sorry, I need to get rid of those. Okay, a contingent of barbarians, and then you, Lester, Quentin, Sybil, Kerrigan, Ven, Sparky as well. Alright, so all these kids are here. Alright, and look at some... And the kids pile out as well, and they stand in front with dumb looks on their faces. All right, and so look at actually who is here. If you look on the side up here around what used to be the orphanage, you see Imperial Rangers.
Oh.
Imperial Rangers have closed off a perimeter around the orphanage. All right, and then if you look close here at the very bottom right here, you see Marvin, Mondo, your old friends, and then Wander the Wizard, and then Tayron as well. And also, look, it's Esmeralda, if you zoom in.
Oh.
Esmeralda. Okay, and meanwhile, Giselle is over here. And everyone is just staring with jaws open wide at what you have brought into their backyard. What would you guys, what would you like to say as you appear in front of this group of people?
¿Quién es tu energy? We is here.
And then Quentin does a completely unnecessary backflip. He lands in front of you and he's like, "Oh yeah, who is your daddy and what does he do?" Mayor Flintgrist is like, "Sweet Jesus, great Caesar's ghost! I ain't never seen nothing like that before." And Wanderer comes up and is like, "Lester, my boy, you've done it. You've exceeded expectations, and my God, is that what I think it is?"
Yes, it is.
So you notice that actually Giselle has come up, and behind her, there were a couple children that still remained in the orphanage. Remember, you way back when you you snuck into the orphanage. You battled Albertus Allright's strange, mysterious guards, and there were a couple kids that he didn't take with him. All right, and so these kids run up to you, and the kids are behind Giselle, and the kids are normal. All right, they're crying out to their their fellow playmates of the orphanage, and they're like, "Why are they so dead-eyed and glassy? What's wrong with them? What's going on? Oh my God, is that a dragon?" Giselle comes up to you and says, "Well, Lester, and Quentin, and Sybil, you certainly know how to make an entrance." "What about me?" says Claudia. "And you as well, Claudia, and ooh." And so the people finally noticed the barbarians. And Mayor Flintgrist was like, "Oh my God, sons of bitches, we're being invaded."
No, we're not.
What's going on?
So, people of Aquaria, meet our newest your newest acquaintances and possible trading partners. These are your neighbors in the wildlands, who are because of all the rigmarole with borders and everything like that, can't come here. But without them, you wouldn't have your kids back, and you certainly wouldn't. We wouldn't have solved this case.
So there's a pause as everybody takes in this news that you've dropped onto them, and then there's some chattering, and there's a couple awkward silences, and then finally Kerrigan comes up, and then she nods towards everyone, all the authority figures here, and then she says, I am Kerrigan Grizzlymane, the matriarch of the Grizzlymane barbarians. Your Lester and Claudia have done us a great deal of good today. They have killed a sea serpent, an Ungar, a death mother that was invading our lands and would have soon made its way inland to your lands as well. You owe your thanks to them, and we hope that there can be friendship between our peoples. She looks visibly exhausted after having spoken that much in your language. And Ven says, "We come in peace. I believe that is what your peoples say when they meet outsiders." And once again, much awkwardness and silence. And then finally, the one to step up is Tehran. Tehran's like, "Oh, well, this is really exciting. Oh my God, it's great to meet you. I ran over one of your people a couple days ago, but I don't think there was any permanent damage. My name is Tehran." And he looks towards Van and Kerrigan and trips on his own shoelaces and gets visibly scared and falls on his ass and is like, "Oh, welcome to Aquaria." And you can see some smiles coming up along the edges of the mouths of the barbarian women, along with the other barbarians who are gathering around. And it's kind of like an icebreaker. The ice is broken. And finally, Mayor Flint Gristle's like, "Well, God's damn, this is something. This is hell interesting, isn't it?" Finally, Esmeralda steps up, and she comes over to you and is like, "Is this your work, Lester? This is interesting. We were brought in because the mayor told us about the whole shenanigans that the former orphanage headmaster was carrying on in the that building over there, and he was up to some bad stuff. And so it looks like you brought back all the kids safe and sound."
Yeah, we got all the kids, and we got this mechanical dragon that's been missing for a number of years.
So does that belong to the old man, that gear tinker? The old man that used to make toys?
Yeah, none other.
Wow. Well, I'm not sure what to say, Lester. I don't know. Well, I don't know if King Darian needs to necessarily know about this. Because previously he was really into making this thing into a weapon.
Well, yeah, it doesn't fly. So it seems like it probably should stay here anyway. And I don't know. I mean, we have some choice words maybe for him and his sort of border wall thing, whatever he wants to call it. But he doesn't necessarily need to know about that either, as long as I think the people of Aquaria are okay with this little arrangement that where the Imperial Army doesn't bother this area, and they don't bother the barbarians. Because frankly, none of us would be here, because that sea serpent probably would have made its way here sooner or later, and none of the kids would be here if it weren't for them. So.
Well, and so Mayor Flint Gristle comes up to you and is like, "Hey, now wait a second, Lester. Maybe we can like make this opportunity work for everyone. Like, currently these barbarians and our people, they can only trade like 4 times a year in designated trading zones along the border. Maybe like, since y'all have come in peace and everything, maybe we can like make the town of Aquaria a trading zone or something, or like, maybe we can make a deal. Life is about making deals."
Well, I'll let you politicians, you leaders, figure that out.
This is interesting. Which one of y'all is the women in charge? And
yeah. Well, we can introduce you, and you guys can work out the details.
Kerrigan steps up, and they begin chattering. And meanwhile, Giselle comes up to you and says, "Well, Esther, so I have to tell you that I found a way to reverse the mind wiping that children suffered. All right, and I believe that given with about an hour or so, Wander steps up as well. Wander and I can reverse what they've all been put under. It's a spell, all right? You remember our battle with Albertus, all right, before all of you lot jumped into the fairy circle so unceremoniously and left me unable to follow?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you do remember that Albertus was holding a spell book, yes?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and so the spellbook, I believe it caught fire at one point. He dropped it. All right, so after you lot went on your little adventure, I'm not even going to ask the entire details. It's a long story. You can tell me later. But I picked up that spellbook and returned to town with it, and then Wander and I puzzled over it for a while we waited for Esmeralda over here to come with her Imperial Ranger troops to quarantine the area. It appears that your man Albertus was up to some foul magic and had cast a spell of compulsion on the children using the spellbook, and luckily we were able to reverse it. Now, what's most interesting is the spellbook itself. I'll show it to you. And so she shows you the spellbook, alright? So this is what it looks like. Can you see it?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So I'll read the text to you. A spellbook that belonged to Albertus, though the name on the inside cover reads, Property of V. Blackwood. This powerful tome gave Albertus the ability to create doppelganger guards, manipulate fairy circles, and cast compulsion spells upon the kids of Aquaria. Unfortunately, the spellbook seems to have some sort of trap built into it, making certain it could only be used a certain number of times. It seems that Albertus relied upon its magic too much, for all of the pages are now burnt and the spells incomprehensible. Giselle speculates that Albertus stole this book from someone and didn't know about the trap. The parts that are still readable, and you kind of flip through it, and Giselle's explaining this to you, the parts that are still readable are Albertus's scribblings, which resemble diary entries. There are makeshift maps showing that Albertus had determined the location of the Clockwork Dragon and was trying to get it out of the wildlands. He's also written about using those stupid barbarians and consolidating a base in Aquaria. Most of the writings are delusions of grandeur, and it seems like Albertus ultimately wanted the Clockwork Dragon for himself. There's one charred line that catches the eye. With Geartinker's finest creation under my control, all of Tartec can be my oyster. The capital, the territories, maybe even the World Wizards Association, all working for dear old me. Absolutely delicious. This'll show Victor who's boss. Victor? Victor starts with a V. V. Blackwood. So, says Giselle, I speculate that Albertus really wanted that dragon over there, which you have coincidentally delivered to his former doorstep. I don't know who this V. Blackwood is. I'm going to need to check with my fellow wizards. Wander hasn't heard of him either. But apparently, this book belonged to him, and Albertus stole it from him, I'm assuming. But he was booby-trapped, and Albertus paid the price. Most of it's damaged, but we're able to reverse engineer the mind-wiping spell that he put the kids under.
Well, it seems to work for those other kids.
Give us about an hour, and we'll be able to do it. My only concern is this book. We're going to take it back to the World Wizards Association and try to find out who it originally belonged to. You wouldn't happen to know a V Victor Blackwood, would you?
Nope.
Nope. All right, well...
Yeah.
I'm going to get to work with Wander on reviving these children. All right, she goes off.
Thank you.
Wander goes off as well. And finally, actually, Wander catches the attention of this griffin here, and the griffin lets out a sound. Wander's like, oh, what's that?
That is a baby griffin.
A baby griffin, you say? So, is it domesticated?
Not yet. Well, kind of. I don't know. I mean, yeah, actually, I wanted to talk to you guys about that. We were wondering if you had any experience with magical animals like that.
Well, I don't, but I think William might. It's interesting. I've never actually seen one up close. I don't suppose you'd be willing to let us maybe study or observe it for... Does it belong to you?
Yeah.
Claudia runs over and is like, it's our
Claudia.
baby. It's our baby, and we're not going to let go of it. So we're going to take it into the capital, and we're going to train it, and it's going to become big and strong one day, and we're going to need your help in order to make sure that naughty old King Darian, the diddler, doesn't come around and try to put his ball sack on it.
Yeah. What she said.
Well, says Wander, I suppose we can work something out. Look, I'll deal with the children first, and then we'll talk about your new pet. All right. And Tehran's like, oh, so cool. Automatically, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. He goes around to try to look at the griffin. Hold on, let me roll something for Tehran. All right, Tehran's leaning close. The griffin bites him on the schnoz. Just bonk. He's like, oh my god! Oh, I'm gonna die! Oh. And Quentin's laughing. And Chloe's like, no, Sparky, let go of poor Tehran. He's already lost a cart. He doesn't need to lose his nose. And Tehran's like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. And you see Ven over here laughing. So this whole thing goes on for a while, okay? Meanwhile, the wizards basically set up a spell circle around the kids and begin performing incantations. Alright, little by little, the children appear to snap out of their stupor. And I'm going to say this for the sake of brevity, is that as this is going on in the square, you guys are talking, you're kind of explaining the adventure that you've had with everybody. And the kids are slowly awakening one by one and finally becoming lucid, and then they're talking with their playmates, and everyone's getting filled in on the information that went on, and Tehran's clutching his slightly bloody schnoz. And then finally, you know, Marvin and Mondo are like, listen, like, guys, let's all get together in the troglodyte's toe, you know? Barbarians, kids, the kids can't have alcohol, but let's all get together, and I feel like we're on the cusp of something special here. Let's celebrate.
Yeah. Party.
Alright. So y'all are all going to pack into the troglodyte's toe. Okay? Alright. So here, you should be on the troglodyte's toe map.
Okay, that's populating. Oh, a lot of people in there.
Yeah. So here you can see everyone, okay? This is everyone on this crazy adventure. There's the children who are running about now. They're back to normal. The children are back to normal, and then the barbarians are there as well, and even the rangers are there. And then there's you and Claudia sitting at a table with Wander and Giselle, and you've explained to them the details of your crazy adventure. And how do you want to tell? So what do you want to tell William about Sparky? Like, so William's like, so we need a plan. Like, how are you going to get this furry little guy into the capital?
He's just gonna ride with us. But we need a place to train him, and I don't know exactly where that would be. He will eventually grow, fly, and all that. I don't know.
Well, you know, yeah, I suppose you could always buy a plot of land on the outskirts of the city, or there's some old buildings that can serve as stables. With a little bit of repairs, you could probably renovate it and give it a place to run around. It'd be fascinating. William and I would love to observe its growth.
Yeah.
We can tell the king that it's some rare breed of dog from the wildlands that you've picked up, and I believe you owe him a favor or two. Or he owes you a favor, sorry. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's a bird. We could. Yeah, it's a bird.
It's a bird. Yeah, a pet bird. Very interesting. All right, so you guys are eating like the fine troglodyte's toe, pork roasts and rice and greens, and Mondo and Marvin are working back and forth. They're pouring drinks. The Imperial Rangers are here cutting loose, and everybody's chattering and going on back and forth. And then Quentin up here is like on the table, and he's like talking about how cool he was and the victory and everything that went on. And Alexander and Rosella are watching them. And then Claudia says, "Excuse me for a moment." And then Claudia actually goes over back to them and pulls. You remember the helmet
Yeah.
Yeah, Claudia pulls that helmet that she was actually wearing it during the fights, and then she gives it back to Rosella, and you can hear her say, "I believe this belonged to your mum." And Rosella says, "Oh, thank you so much. It's it's all I have to remember her with." And Claudia's like, "No problem. And by the way, 90% of what Quentin says is BS. Me and Lester did all the work. He missed a whole bunch of times when fighting a little wormy sea serpent. Don't let it go to your head, Quentin." And then she goes back to your table. And Quentin's like, "Hey, what the hell? Stop trying to ruin my big moment." And luckily for Quentin, a whole bunch of kids they've heard his tales, including Alexander, and they're asking him to tell them more and more and more. And Quentin's finally like, "All right, listen, kids. Listen, y'all need to learn how to protect yourselves. You don't want some other asshole taking over the orphanage and brainwashing all of you again in the future. I'm gonna take a whole bunch of you outside right now. We're gonna learn how to fight, okay?" Anybody who wants to come scrap with me outside, raise your hand. And a bunch of kids, mostly boys, a couple girls though, including Alexander and Rosella, they're like, us. And he's like, "All right, kids, let's go out and we'll kick each other's asses a couple times. And, I'm going to teach you kids everything you need to know to defend yourselves. Come on, off with me. Out of my way, bar boy." He pushes Tayron out of the way. He's like, "Give me a drink, Marvin. I need some alcohol in me. I'm about to teach these kids how to get educated." And then he takes a contingent of the children outside. I'm going to say that they're like right out here on the map. Contingent of the kids, they're outside on the corner here. A couple boys as well, like in the corner here. And you can hear like the sounds of Lester going like, "Now say after me, Watcha! Ha!" And he's trying to like lead the kids in sparring drills and stuff. And you can hear Sybil sigh and shake her head. And it's like, "I better go make sure he doesn't break any bones showing off." And then she goes out to observe as well. Meanwhile, as you guys are observing Quentin teach the kids how to scrap outside, Giselle leans over to you and says, "Lester, that little girl, her helmet, I believe it was enchanted. It's what kept her and her brother from being possessed by the mind control spell. Very interesting, those two."
Yeah. What do you make of them?
"I believe that they've got much promise and they'll grow up well. I never knew their mother, but apparently she was quite a warrior, quite a mercenary, and they've got a lot of their mother in them. You know what else has been recently tweaking the side of my mind, Lester? I thought of it again because Quentin said about the whole new orphanage and whatnot. These kids are without an orphan master at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so when I was coming back here, Lester, I thought to myself, perhaps I like the country living a bit more than I expected. I was thinking that maybe I could settle down here for a bit and perhaps take over the orphanage, temporarily, I suppose, but we'll see how I like it. And I was thinking I might, I suppose you could say I might become a new orphan lady, headmaster, whatever, headmistress, whatever you want to call it. I figured it would be a good chance to raise the literacy of the youth in Aquaria. Well, what do you think?
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if... Well, I talked with Wander about it, and he said it's a good idea, but I've never really been that great with children before, but I feel like it's a nice opportunity here, and they definitely deserve better than that Albertus idiot. Scoundrel he was.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good one. I mean, I can't imagine that they would say no to it.
I believe I'm first going to teach them all how to read, and then maybe once they get a little bit older, maybe I'll teach them a little bit of magic here and there.
Yeah.
And
we could bring some education to this side of the world.
That is my hope. I feel like this might be an unforeseen path for me that I never really expected. But, well, old Wander over here doesn't want to do it because he said kids get too much exposure to children gives him the gout. But I think I could.
Yeah.
"Well, I think that's just lovely," says Claudia. "You could be their nan, and you could form a little squadron of sorcerers, and no good asshole from the Northern Territories would be able to take over this place ever again. Or make crazy doppelgangers. By the way, are all the people in this room right now real? I don't want, like, the mayor to come over and start whacking me upside the head." And Giselle's like, "Oh, don't worry, my dear. I got rid of the after effects of those spells. There will be no more strange creatures created by Albertus wandering around." So, interestingly enough, as you guys are chatting, Mayor Flintgristle comes up. Mayor Flintgristle's like, "Hey, y'all. So, me and that barbarian lady," and he points over towards Kerrigan, and you see Kerrigan over here, and Kerrigan is just like knocking them back with Esmeralda, like just pints, just disappearing pints of the sheep's tit, the local Aquarian specialty, are just going, and you see Kerrigan just slam one down on the ground, almost breaking the mug. She's like, "Another one. This water is weak. You need stronger brew." And Esmeralda is starting to get a little red. And he's like, "Oh, them barbarian women can sure drink," says Mayor Flintgristle. "But we was talking, me and her her sister was translating for me. And so I'm thinking that, like, we can, like, turn Aquaria into a cultural exchange zone between us Tartec peoples and the barbarians."
Wow.
We was thinking of maybe writing up a draft and submitting it to King Darian. And Esmeralda says that she's willing to supervise it and propose it to the king as well and put in a good word for us. And then maybe we can enact some change. Maybe this can be the first of many potential cultural exchange zones. And we was thinking as well that the Clockwork Dragon, since it can't really fly, it could be like a tourist attraction for the village, like bring into business. And, you know, Aquaria could be booming in a couple months if this gets off the ground.
Yeah.
And then I was also talking with Giselle over here, and with her wanting to become the new orphanage person and maybe train the kids with some magic and take care of them, then, well, we'd have quite a booming town on our hands. Aquaria would probably see more visitors in a week than it has in the past 7 years.
It could be good for business.
Indeed. Well, I just want to thank you lot, and Lester and Claudia, and he pulls out a big sack from his pants. Just not from a pocket, just from his pants. Like, he reaches into his pants and pulls out a sack of coins, not a sack of something else. And just drops it on the table, and it's like, "I believe y'all deserve this. This is what we managed to scrounge up as a reward. You guys did it. You saved the kids. And you did more for this little town than it deserved, to be fair. And so I hope this reward is enough." All right, so inside is inside is donations from everybody in the town. In total, it's 1,500 gold. So would you like to take it all for now?
I think what I'll probably do. You know what I'm gonna do? Well, Claudia and I will split some. We'll end up splitting, like, sort of my portion. I'm gonna give. I'm gonna give some of it to Tayron and some of it to Quentin and Sybil.
Ooh. How much you giving that lot, Lester? Just, I mean, they helped, but, we was the original ones hired for this, says Claudia.
Yeah.
Not trying to get short-charged here.
Nah. Why don't we give them, so 1,000, 10%?
It's 1,500, yeah.
Yeah, so 100.
Give them 100? Okay.
Yeah, give them 100.
How much you giving Tayron over there?
No, we wouldn't have had this without him, so we'll give him 100 too.
Oh, nice. All right, so you have 1,300. Okay.
Okay.
For yourself. Let me write that on your sheet. Do you want to divvy it up with you and Claudia right now?
Yeah.
How much will you take?
I'll just put a split it.
Okay. You each get 650?
Yeah.
All right, so you have a total of, in your pack right now, you have a total of 1841 gold. Okay, I've just input that for you.
Okay.
And then Claudia has, let's see how much gold she has. Claudia has a total, oh, Claudia has a lot actually. Claudia has 2285. Because she found McGregor's stash at the end of the last adventure, so she's just been carrying around a lot of gold.
Yeah.
And Claudia's like, so much money. Oh, I could buy myself a new turban when I get back to the city. This one's been kind of used as a snot rag in the wildlands. So you're gonna give it to Tehran? By the way,
Yeah.
Sparky the Griffin is playing with a ball around the tables that Marvin and Mondo donated as an amusement toy. All right, and so Tehran, who is busy, he's been like waitering around and delivering beer and food to everyone. He narrowly dodges the Griffin. He's like, oh my god. And then as he's coming over to deliver you guys some more eggs. Shall you give him the dinero?
Yeah.
All right. What do you say?
Oh, here, Sarah. Just a little thank you. Maybe some money to buy you a new car.
Oh my God, sir! Oh, thank you, Mr. Lester. I've never seen this much money before. This is 100 gold. This is more than my brother Aaron left me. Well, he only left me 5 gold, but thank you. If I had a hat, I would take it off my head and put it in between my hands and bow to you now, sir. But I don't. So I'll just take this plate and bow instead. He's holding a plate full of eggs, and as he bows, all the eggs fall on the floor. And you hear Mondo and Marvin screaming from behind him, Tehran! He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He struggles to pick him up.
Well, maybe you can take some of that and, actually, this woman Giselle here actually is thinking about taking over the orphanage for a little while, and she might you might learn a thing or two from her, and might help you to you might be able to find something else to do here or somewhere else.
I've actually talked about this with
a little bit
Tehran.
of magic.
I've talked about this with Tehran, says Giselle. He said he's willing to try to learn magic, although, she whispers to you, although I doubt he's got the talent or the skill for it, but it never hurt to try. He says he's also willing to help me reorganize the orphanage a little bit, clean it up, and remove some of the trash that Albertus brought in. He had no sense of interior decorating whatsoever. It's rather barbaric. Oh, I shouldn't say that anymore, since we're with actual barbarians now.
Yeah.
That's right, says Claudia. That could be construed as racist. Check your privilege, Giselle. And Tehran's like, speaking of barbarians, sir, like, that one sitting over at the table over there, the one with the big axe and the red hair, Ven, I think her name is, sir, like, I've never seen anyone so beautiful before.
Oh, well, I'll introduce you.
And Claudia's like, oh, Tehran, so you have the hots for Ven Grizzly, mate? You should go and say hi. Ask her on a date. And Tehran's like, oh my God, I've never done that with a woman before. Sir, I'm scared. Like, what, how does one ask a girl out?
Well, come on. We'll go talk with her.
Do you think... So, do you want to walk him over slowly? As you're walking over, and Claudia, who's amused by all this, comes along too, he whispers in your ear, he's like, sir, do you think she might, like, want to go steady with me? Sir, do you think And he whispers, his voice gets very small, and he whispers, "Sir, do you think we might be able to have the intercourse?" And Claudia's like, "Oh my god. Like, Tayron, you could not possibly make it sound less sexy than you did just now."
Let's just start by actually being able to speak a few words to her.
"I'm scared, sir." So you put him in front of Ven. What will you say?
Then I want to introduce you to my good friend Tayron here. If it weren't for him, we would never have had the pleasure of knowing you guys.
"He's got a really big dick," says Claudia.
Oh, God, Claudia.
"I'm sorry, Lester, I couldn't resist." And poor Tayron's like, pleased to meet you, Miss Grizzly Mane." And Ven, who has been drinking quite a lot as well, smiles and looks at Tayron and says, "Well, I do remember this one. He is the one who got his nose bitten by the baby griffin over there and tripped when he said hello to me. It is nice to meet you, Tayron of Aquaria. I am Ven Grizzlymane. Ah, you are not much of a fighter. Are you? Are you perhaps a lover?" And Claudia's like, "It worked, Lester. Say it's all for the good." And Tayron's like, Tayron's just tongue-tied. And then Ven is like, "Are you perhaps a drinker? This will help to make you perhaps more comfortable. Bring us around, barkeep." And they start drinking.
Sounds good. All right.
And you guys are making your way away, and Claudia's like, "Wow, do you think they might actually work together?"
I don't know.
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Stranger things have happened.
I feel like it's one of those scenarios where like a really hot girl ends up with a really ugly guy. Like, I feel like this. I don't know. I don't know what her standards are. She hasn't met too many Tartec people. Low standards, probably.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
All right, so the evening goes on. Much merriment and much happiness. And you go back to talking with the wizards and the mayor about plans for this new cultural exchange center that he wants to convert Aquaria into. And you see Tayron and Ven getting along surprisingly well, just drinking loads and loads of the sheep's tit. And at one point, just Tayron passes the fuck out because, you know, after like 16 or so pints, he just can't move anymore. And Ven, too, is also kind of tired, but she is like, I will order another one. And I need to see how my sister is doing. Excuse me, Tayron hiccups. And goes over to Kerrigan, who's still engaged in drinking with Esmeralda. Tayron just passes out. And what happens is that you and Wander drag the guy to his room. Okay?
Yeah.
His room upstairs. And actually, Giselle comes up to you and says, "Lester, seeing as how good Tayron has fallen asleep, perhaps this is a nice opportunity to peer into his dreams again."
Oh. Okay. We're good.
See what old Hortense has to say about this,
Yeah.
if she's around. And so, I'm going to say that you guys are up here, in the upper levels of the Troglodyte's Toe. Tayron threw up at one point. You cleaned him off.
Of course it did.
And then Tayron had to go to the bathroom. And then he fell asleep on the John. And you and Wander had to pull him off. Had to find his pants again, which he'd stuck at the bottom of the toilet. And now he's in bed. He's matted down. Claudia's shaking her head. Sparky's wandering around, chewing at the sides of a nearby bed. And Giselle has mixed up that mixture that she made several sessions ago, and then shoved into Tayron's mouth in order to get him lucid again. And so she repeats the process. And Tayron coughs and chokes and sputters and is still asleep because he just drank too much of that sheep's tit. And then finally, after 5 or so minutes pass. Tehran's eyes jolt open. And then Tehran speaks in a voice that's not his own. And it appears that you are not speaking with Tehran anymore, but you are speaking with a woman that says, "What's going on? Are the children all right? It's all of you again." It's Hortense Brunscombe, the grandmotherly ghost herself.
The children are all right. Finally.
What's happened? So after the last time we talked, some of the children, my connection with them became stronger, and it's almost like I can feel them coming back. But what's been going on?
Well, I'll just fill her in with a summary of the story.
Yeah, for the sake of brevity, you fill her in with a summary of the story, the whole long tale, how the barbarians and Gear Tinker and the Clockwork Dragon. And Hortense is just amazed. She says, "Wow, never would I have believed that my little orphanage could be caught up in such a plot. And never would I have believed that it would have been solved in such a ridiculous and unexpected manner. A Clockwork Dragon? Well, that's pretty darn cool, isn't it?" says Wander. And so Hortense turns to you and says, "Wow, it looks like you've done it. You've saved the children. You've saved my family. I thank you, Lester and Claudia. I thank you from the bottom of my heart."
Well, no problem. We're just glad we were able to contact you and figure out at least some resolution to this whole thing.
You know, Lester, you said your last name was LeFoe, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be related to a Mortimer LeFoe, would you?
Yeah, maybe. That would be my father.
Your father. So, since we last talked in the dream world, a man named Mortimer LeFoe has been... Well, in the dream world, we have dream cities of our own where all of us deceased go and congregate, and it's a bit complicated, and the Dreamweaver says I'm not supposed to talk about with others, but a man named Mortimer LeFoe says he's toying with the idea of starting up a dream detective agency. And I thought of you.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yes, well, if you ever come to the dream world, well, hopefully it won't be for many more years, but perhaps I'll see you then, with your father.
Yeah. That would be nice. Yeah, I'd love to talk with you more.
The old man started a detective agency in the world of the dead / dreams, says Claudia. I wonder how business theirs.
Well, if there's any luck, I won't be involved with it when I'm there.
Huh. Interesting. And then Hortense turns to Giselle, who has, over the course of this discussion, communicated the fact that she wants to take over the orphanage and teach the children. And then Hortense says, "Well, it seems that my kids are in good hands underneath you. Take good care of them and make sure they don't get up to no good. And make sure Quentin and that girl of his also stay on best behavior." And Giselle says, "Oh, don't you worry. We have good plans for the orphanage and the children. First of all, just making sure they can read and write. We're going to make a nice army of scholars here, don't you worry. And I have a feeling that within a couple of years, Aquaria might be one of the most cultured places in all of Tartec." Hortense smiles at the thought of that.
Yeah.
And then smiles and turns to all of you and says, "If I could hug all of you now, I would. I'm so happy." And you can see tears falling down the grandmotherly lady's face as she looks at the people who helped save her children. Tehran lurches and begins choking on his own vomit. Hortense is like, "Oops, seems it's time for me to go." And then her voice fades and she disappears. And then Wander's like, "Quick, turn him over before he dies." You turn him over. He pukes on the floor. Giselle jumps up onto the bed and shakes her head and says, "Positively barbaric." Alright, and so the evening goes on and on. there's more eating, more drinking, more throwing up. Quentin at one point comes back with a bloody nose because apparently he taught Alexander how to fight a little too good and the kid punched him in the face. And Clinton's like, wow, that kid's got some stuff in him. And I'm going to say that you guys spend another evening in the town of Aquaria. All right?
Good. Yeah.
And then finally, the following morning, it's time to actually return to the capital city, Tartec. Okay? And so everybody's gathered in the town square to say goodbye to you guys.
Barbarians are still there?
Yeah, the barbarians are still here. They stayed the night also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they stayed the night. Mayor Flint Gristle is really into the whole idea of the cultural exchange thing. He keeps talking about it. He's like, well, we can make some money, and it's about, life is about making deals. And, it's 6 in one, half a dozen of the other. Just things that make no sense. And so when it comes down to it, all the kids are here, and they're alongside you, and Wander is going to be going back with you to Aquaria. All right? And several of the rangers are as well. A couple of them are going to stay here and just continue securing the perimeter because there was basically a domestic terrorism incident that occurred here, so the rangers are just sticking around for a while. And the kids, several of the kids have begun playing around the Clockwork Dragon, not actually getting into it and operating anything, because Quentin's given them a lecture on what not to do. But they're playing around it, just hopping up and down on its wings and playing with its tail. And the atmosphere in Aquaria is really festive and really exciting. It's like nothing that you've seen before. Okay, there's a feeling of hope in the town, and the townspeople are milling about, and there's weird stuff going on between some of the townspeople and the barbarians. Actually, there's like one weapon master in town that you guys never visited. Actually, but he's discussing with another barbarian, or trying to discuss. They can't really communicate, but they're trying to talk about weaponry. And the guy is like fascinated by all of these weapons that the barbarians make out of animal pieces and so on and so forth. And Marvin and Mondo have gotten really into it. They're like passing out free snacks to the kids, and it's just really festive. Like, it feels good.
It's a shame to leave.
Shame to leave, Lester, but I'm kind of missing home. And, like, all of this... So both adventures have taken place in the span of, like, a week, technically speaking. Like, and you guys are tired.
Yeah.
And you guys deserve a rest, so...
We need to rest.
So Esmeralda says, well, we're going to head back with you to the capital city, and I've got this plan that Flint Gristle drafted up for me last night with some help from the barbarian ladies, and I need to go over it and adjust a couple things, because Flint Gristle was drunk when he wrote it up, and so there's some spelling mistakes. For example, he spelled Aquaria wrong. But I don't know if King Darian knows how to spell either, so it'll work out, I think, and me and the wizards will come up with some ideas. And King Darian, Lester, after you left, King Darian, he said he's a changed man.
Really?
He said for one he's, she whispers to you, he said for one he's swearing off gigolos.
Oh.
And for two, he said he asked me out to dinner next weekend.
Really?
Yes,
Like,
he's like...
Just thank you, or just as a personal thing?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. He wasn't very good at it. He said he first started out saying that, well, I'm done with gigolos, and so I'd like to get to know regular women again. And then he switched it to, well, you saved my life along with that boy Lester, to finally, well, I need somebody to eat dinner with me. And then, last but not least, he said, but you can't have any of my immortality potion. So... I don't know, but I might take him up on it.
Well, there's certainly worse choices, I guess.
Wow, Lester, says Claudia, the weirdest things. We got, like, Tayron and Van, and now we got Darian the Diddler with one of his rangers? My God, pretty soon Sparky and Hubert are going to start fornicating.
Yeah, can he do that? I guess he can do whatever he wants. He's king, right?
Yep, he can do whatever he wants. He is king, says Esmeralda. But anyways, So I'm going to try to put in a good word about this whole scenario with him, and we'll see what he says. Mayor Flintcrystal over there can't stop talking about it, and you guys do have this dragon in town, so we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, we are bringing in I guess you could say a pet.
Yeah, I've been filled in.
Yeah.
By Wander. What do you want to call it?
Uh, uh, it's
An exotic bird? An exotic?
yeah,
Fine.
it's a she actually,
It's a
and
she.
we'll just call it a bird.
So
Oh,
normally there are regulations for example, owning certain livestock within the city. You need to get papers signed and stamped, and I can maybe take care of some of that for you. I know some people who know some people who can get you a certificate
okay.
of
Yeah,
authenticity and licensing. All
I
right?
would appreciate that. Yeah.
Just don't keep a low profile when it flies,
Yeah, that probably
or
won't
do
be
it
for.
outside the city. I'll also alert the guards to know not to shoot it if it goes
Yeah.
around the city walls.
Okay.
Sparky lets out a ring sound. All right, so finally, you guys are getting ready to go. Who do you want to say goodbye? It's time to say your goodbyes. Who do you want to say bye to?
Yeah, let's say goodbye to the barbarians and Tehran and Quentin, all these people.
All right, the barbarians first. So, what do you say to them? It's Ven and Kerrigan, her sister.
Well, thank you guys so much for your help. I hope our paths cross again.
Thank you, Lester, says Kerrigan. You are a good man. And you too, Claudia. You are a good woman. I was told about your parents, Claudia, and I am sorry. And Claudia's like, oh, it's alright, I'm over it now. It's a misunderstanding on both parts, I think. I feel like I learned a little bit during this adventure, and it seems like Aquaria is a much better place than it was when we first arrived. I guess that's what matters in the end. Ven nods and says, you speak the truth, Claudia Copperhoof. Lester LeFoe, I thank you from the bottom of our heart, and I am sure that Goliath, if he has finally finished carving up the pieces of Ungar, thanks you as well. You have done, it seems, both peoples on two different sides of the world a favor these last few days. And we will be going back to the Wildlands later today, but we eagerly await the results of this new arrangement between your people and ours, and hopefully it will not take too long to enact. The mayor over there, the strange mayor who keeps putting his hand in his pants to scratch his rump, he keeps saying metaphors that I do not understand about money and opportunity and so on and so forth. And diversity, how diversity is the future. I don't really understand it, but maybe someday I will be able to visit you in your city. I hope to.
Yeah, or we'll come back here.
So they smile and step off. Mayor Flintcrystal, he's just full of ideas. He's just keep talking. He's talking about how he's got a plan. Maybe he can turn a portion of Aquarium into like an amusement park and like have kids slide down the Clockwork Dragon. So now it's Tehran, and he's got Marvin and Mondo with him. What do you want to say to Tehran?
Well, Tehran, what do we say? It's been real.
Thank you, sir. And then Tehran's trying not to cry. But you know, snot running down from his schnoz, and he's teary-eyed. He's like, I'll never forget the great adventure that you gave me, and being chased by, I shouldn't call them barbarians, they're wildlanders, and seeing a Clockwork Dragon with my own eyes, and you know, hey, like, so when I was drinking with Miss Grizzlymane last night, I asked her if, like, she wants to meet up sometime by the border and go on a walk. And
Oh, good for you.
yeah, I'm a real brave, sir. When I asked, I was so scared a little bit of pee came out. but she said yes. She said
Oh,
she called me funny. That's good, right?
that's good. That's definitely good.
Maybe she'll be my steady. He's real excited. And Claudia's like, I hope you have lots of babies with her, Tayron. Like, I wish you all the best. Tayron's like, I'm so psyched. I haven't been this psyched since my father got hit with a meteorite. He stopped putting things into my asshole. He goes and runs off. Marvin and Mondo are like, hey, thanks for taking care of our boy.
Oh, no
He's
problem.
a little bit bow-legged, but hey, it appears we did the right thing sending him to go to Tartec to find a detective. You know, he sure as hell found one.
He did well.
That boy, Tayron, doing better than any of us expected. Alright, and finally it's Quentin and Sybil. What are you guys going to say to them?
Oh, well, Quentin, we had a few good fights, didn't we?
You're damn right, Lester Fester. You know, when I first saw you, thought you wouldn't be able to hold your own in a brawl, but you and me, we make a pretty good team, Lester. And he starts bouncing back and forth. He's like, if you ever need someone to fight with, where'd you say your address was again?
Oh, we live in the city.
In the city.
Capital City.
Capital City. And Claudia's like, 1 Willow Avenue. You can look us up. And Quentin's like, well, I'm still not allowed in the city until the statute of limitations expires. I'm still a wanted man, technically, for stealing that Clockwork Dragon back in the day, but I might visit you once that expires. I'm thinking that me and Sybil, we might spend a day or two more in Aquaria, help clean up the place a bit, and then I'm thinking we might head on out and go on another adventure. This has been a blast. I'm thinking we might take to the sea again, or maybe explore what's out there in the desert. There's some good times ahead. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll get into the detective business too. I feel like you and me could be rivals, right, Lester Fester? Like, may the better man kick more ass?
Not really, but...
Nah, fuck you, Lester Fester. But anyways, alright, I'll see you around, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, smell you later.
If you ever need anything, seriously, let us know.
And Sybil's like, it was wonderful meeting both of you. I've got to go take care of him before he ends up tripping on his staff, but our paths will cross again, I'm sure.
Sounds good. Look forward to it.
So she smiles and then actually gives Claudia a hug, smothers Claudia right in between her tits, and then goes off. And Claudia's like, those things are fake, Lester. Don't be fooled. She's had some work done, I'm sure. Alright, and then finally the last person is actually Rosella. She comes up to you. Her brother's busy playing with the side of the Clockwork Dragon with a bunch of other kids. And he's describing how he manned the weapons on the thing. And Rosella smiles and says, thank you for everything. You really freed us from... it was like a fate worse than death. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. It's our pleasure. Glad we were able to get it done.
The weirdest thing happened to me last night, Lester. I had a dream and I saw my mother. Yeah, and she said that she was happy that I was safe and that I seemed better off than I had in a very long time. And she hugs the helmet close to her and she says, thanks for everything and thanks for giving this back to me. And, Marvin and Mondo offered me and my brother a side job at the tavern.
Oh.
Yeah, we can't drink any alcohol, but he said that we could deliver juice and water to the patrons.
There you go.
So, well, see you again sometime soon if you come back, right? Or maybe I'll visit you in the city.
Yeah, that would be great.
So you say your last goodbyes, and then you hop back on a bunch of horses that have been arranged by the rangers, and then Giselle waves to you, and the barbarians wave as well. Tayron's waving as well as he walks back towards the Troglodyte's Toe with Marvin and Mondo to begin the day's chores, and as he's waving, he accidentally walks into a lamppost. And so you guys venture back on the road, back towards the capital city.
Okay. So you're being escorted by Esmeralda and some of the Imperial Rangers on horses. Okay. And as you guys are on the road back, you can see Claudia frantically scribbling away in a journal. And then she finally puts the finishing touches on what she's writing with a flourish. And then she hands it to you and says, "Here, I wrote up the details of our case, Lester."
Oh.
Can you see?
Yeah.
The case of the grandmotherly ghost. Case closed. So it says, shortly after solving the case of the Almost Assassination, dear Lester and I had ourselves a crazy adventure in the countryside. It all started when this skinny fella suffering from the attention deficit disorder named Tayron asked for our help in figuring out why the ghostly headmistress of Aquarius Town Orphanage was appearing in everyone's dreams. Little did we know that this headmistress was actually trying to communicate from beyond the grave with her extended family of orphans, so to speak. Apparently the dead can visit the dreams of their loved ones. Who knew? It turns out that the kiddies were in terrible danger because the new master of the orphanage, a fat bloke named Albertus Allright, was mind-controlling them with foul magic and using a teleportation device called the Fairy Circle to send them into the wildlands, where they would serve as the servants of the claw-runner barbarians, who needed the kids to power an ancient mechanical clockwork dragon to defend their ancestral home from a deadly sea serpent named Ungar. Holy convoluted twists and turns, Lester! Who could have predicted that this case would go down in such a way? In the end, though, we made new friends in the form of a nutty lad named Quentin and his partner, Tits Sybil, and helped to usher in peace in the wildlands. Thanks to a mighty wizard lady named Giselle, it seems like Aquarius is going to have a bright future with a new orphanage headmistress, and the town might even become a cultural exchange center to initiate goodwill and understanding between the folks of Tartec and the barbarians. I think that ghostly lady in the dream world is mighty happy at all this. I think I also learned something from this wild adventure as well. Not to judge people, I suppose, since that Sybil, was a nice one, even though I'm pretty sure that massive rack of hers ain't real. And also, while barbarians might have killed my mum and dad, not all of them are bad. They suffered a lot at the hands of Tartec folks as well, and ultimately just wanted to defend their home. It seems like cultural misunderstanding and lack of communication causes a lot of strife in this world, and there ain't always a clear-cut bad guy. Except for Albertus and those slavers, that lot were real shite buckets. Anywho, until the next mystery rears its head, case closed.
Oh, nice work.
Thank you, Lester. Thanks. I like the part at the end where I get very deep and, philosophical.
Yeah. So, do you think you would come back to Aquaria?
I mean, it seems like a better place than how we left. There's more going on there, and the people, I think, will be happier, so I'd like to visit at some point. I mean, see how our lad Tayron's getting on with his new mistress, perhaps?
Yeah. I've been thinking. I wonder where we should find our. Should we find a place to train Sparky in the city? Maybe a little barn or something, or aviary or something.
Yep. So you guys are back in the city now. Okay. Okay, you guys are back in the city. Good old Tartec, just as smelly and full of smog in the air as it was. It's been a long time. Actually, it hasn't been that long. It's technically only been like 3 days. But it's been a long time. And, they're still cleaning up Lura's Square from the assassination attempt.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys part ways with the wizards, with the rangers, and with the horses. And I'm going to say that you guys move back towards One Willow Avenue. All right. And, yeah. You guys are back here. You see your old friends, Joan, Alice, Mother Methany Ann, Fitzgerald, the new star gigolo. All these friends. And then they come up to you and they're like, how was the countryside?
Joan and Alice are like, oh my God, Lester, you got tan.
Yeah. We also almost got killed. But
And
story.
Fitzgerald is like, is that a parrot?
Yeah.
It's a really big one.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a little souvenir from our adventure.
So, basically what's going to happen now is a small time skip, all right? 4 weeks pass, okay? 4 weeks pass, and it is a nice and boring 4 weeks. Like, you guys have just had a crazy week where you saved the king from an assassination attempt, then you got dragged out to the countryside and ran a Clockwork Dragon, you fought slavers, you made friends with barbarians, battled a sea serpent. All right, so you finally have 4 weeks to just relax and chill. All right? And so a few things happen during these 4 weeks. Hubert gets formally introduced to Sparky. Okay? Hubert gets formally introduced to Sparky, and the two get along relatively well. I'm just switching you to LeFoe Detective Agency. The two get along relatively well. Sparky seems to know to be, playful with Hubert and not to try biting him and to take it easy on the poor cowardly lamb. And they get along better than you would have expected. There's no fornicating, much to Claudia's happiness. All right? And so, meanwhile, what I'm curious about is there's a couple different options for places to train Sparky. There's one abandoned stable near the LeFoe Detective Agency that you discover that you can probably build up and convert into a place where the Griffin can hang out. There's also plots of land outside the city that are more expensive, and there's also greenhouses within the city that you might be able to buy and so that it would be in a green environment, but also within the city.
What was the one that was next to the LeFoe Detective Agency?
So that's basically down in the alleyway behind One Willow Avenue, and so it used to store a blacksmith shop, and he used to make horseshoes there, and he used to have stables for outfitting horses. It's since fallen into disrepair. The guys moved out. It's essentially abandoned. The guy that owns the property, you could buy it off of him for about 1,300 gold.
Well, that might be handy to have something like that.
It's basically in the back of LeFoe Detective Agency.
Yeah, that's pretty convenient. Something outside the city would be nice, but we can always just go outside the city for free.
Yeah.
So, and then you said there were some like greenhouses and things like that.
Yeah, there's some greenhouses. The problem is they're more expensive. Like to buy one would be something like 6,000 gold, and to like rent one out would be at least like, 2,000 a month.
Yeah.
The place, the place behind you is kind of shitty, but like the guy is willing to like just let you have it because it's kind of falling apart. You would need to kind of put some sweat and tears into building it up, but you could.
Okay, you could do that. Yeah, I mean, does it have a high ceiling?
Yes, it has a pretty high ceiling.
Okay.
Yeah, because basically the second floor caved in. So.
Does it have a roof?
It does have a roof. The second floor caved in though, and so it's basically it's just been removed, the whole second floor. So it's very high ceiling.
Okay. Well, yeah.
All right. So that'll be 1,300 gold. To
1,300.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how much do you have? You want to take it from your stash? Claudia's also willing to chip in. Or you can each chip in.
How much do I have? I think I have 1,800. 18. Yeah, 1,000. Why don't we just split it right down the middle?
Okay, that's 650 each. Okay. All right. So you have
1841. So
yeah. So you have 1190 or 1191. You have 1191 gold. And then Claudia also has. Okay, Claudia has 1635. Claudia has 1635. And then what the next thing that I just want you to do is, as these 4 weeks pass and as you buy off the property and you start to make your plans for building it up again into a place for Sparky the Griffin, let's just make some. So 4 weeks pass, and so you get to make 4 training checks for Sparky the Griffin to see if Sparky the Griffin levels up. Okay, and a training check is basically just you choose one of the. I'll show it to you. You choose one of the. That's Sparky's character sheet, and then you look at your character sheet and you just choose one of the skills, and then roll a d20, and then describe to me how you go about doing this training procedure.
Okay. One of these, like, is it one of these, like, escape, like, nimble escape, peace leave, right? Recklessness, that thing?
No. It's basically look on the. So this is Sparky's character sheet. Those are the things that Sparky can do during combat. Actually, I'll show you your character sheet. It should be your character sheet. I'll show to you. Okay. So this is your character sheet. So you look on the side, on the left side under skills, there's things like acrobatics, animal handling, arcana, athletics, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, you basically click on one of those that you think you want to use to kind of train Sparky, and then describe how you're doing it.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah. So like, depending on how you want Sparky to advance, you can choose a different skill. I believe last time you trained it using, like, I think it was stealth to try to teach it how to pounce. Teach her how to pounce, and to try to get her to learn like new skills, like that she could use to sneak up on enemies and then jump on them using her power of flight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should do maybe like a communications one, like so that Sheena knows when, like, when we're talking.
Okay. Yeah. That
recognize him and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That would probably be what.
That would be persuasion.
Persuasion? Okay.
Yeah. Just click on persuasion; it'll roll for you. 4. Okay, do that one 3 more times, because this is over a course of a week. You're doing a training session once per week. 15. One more time. Okay, 14. All right. All right, so 14. Okay, so you rolled a 4 plus 4 plus 15 plus 14. All right, so 37 total. Okay, and then Claudia, I'll also just roll, see what how Claudia contributes. All right, Claudia rolls 13 plus 7 plus 8 plus 5. Okay, so in total you guys end up rolling a 70. All right, you had to beat a 60, and you guys end up doing that together with your combined rolls. All right, you succeed on 4 training rolls. All right, and what happens is describe to me how you're training Sparky the Griffin, how you want to train it in the art of communication.
Well, we just basically, first of all, we're just teaching Sparky her name.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, call her name out. She does something, give her a reward. Like, I don't know, pick up a piece of fish or something like that. Or I don't know, whatever they eat.
She does eat fish. Yes, she does eat fish.
Yeah, a piece of meat or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We continue to do that until she learns like what her name is.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start to do like basic commands like come here or go over there.
Mm-hmm.
That kind
Okay.
And then we do one. I think we'll do that before we start to do any attacking kind of things. I don't know exactly how we'll do that yet.
Okay. So, yeah, excellent. All right. So what happens now is that Sparky the Griffin levels up. I'll show her sheet to you. Sparky the Griffin is technically now at level 2. Okay, because you succeeded on a total of 5 checks.
Mm-hmm.
You succeeded on 1 in the Wildlands and 4 over the course of 4 weeks. All right. So she's a level 2 now. Okay. And she gradually, her alignment changes from indifferent towards you to friendly towards you. Okay. The Griffin seems to know that you're trying to teach it things, and you're kind of its new parents in a sense. All right. So it's level 2 now. All right. So for its hit points, it's going to get some additional HP. Alright, actually it doesn't get any additional HP because it had a shitty roll there. It doesn't get any additional HP, but it does begin to recognize the calls that you make for it. It begins to recognize. She begins to recognize her name, and then at the end of 4 weeks, interestingly enough, Sparky begins hovering. She begins hovering up above the ground using her little wings. Okay. Are you hitting something right now, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sounds like it. So Sparky begins hovering with her wings, and she's learned some, not really full-on flight, but she's learned a what's basically a form of hovering, and so it's a special locomotion. And so a special form of locomotion. So what happens now is that she can hover, and when she hovers off of the ground, her speed is technically 30 as opposed to 40. All right. So I just indicated that on her sheet. She recognizes her name now, and she's friendly towards you, and her speed is a little bit better than it was before.
Okay.
She begins to hover, and it's not quite as good as her walking speed at the moment, but it'll get better. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's what you do with Sparky over the course of these weeks. Now finally, there's one more thing that I wanted you to do over the course of these 4 weeks of downtime. Remember at the end of last adventure, you said that you wanted to set aside 500 gold for a fund to help disadvantaged Nevans.
Yeah.
How do you want to do that?
I think we probably should, well, we have money, so, we could just, I guess, take it to a bank or something like that. We could also go the underground route.
To where?
Sleight of Hand Society.
Oh, you could. Yeah. You could.
Since they have the connections.
So do you want? Would you prefer to like notify the Sleight of Hand Society first and like ask them for help in bringing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll do it that way.
All right. So one day you prepare to send out a letter to the Sleight of Hand Society. You prepare to go visit them, and so as these 4 weeks have been going on, you know, life has finally settled down for both you guys and in the city. You know, Tartec is peaceful again. The assassination attempt has been forgotten about. You should be on the One Willow Ave map. Yeah. So the stable that you guys are renovating right now, it's basically this shed in the back here. Yeah. Yeah. So you're renovating that one. You're taking care of the construction with Claudia, the boards and the nails, and trying to figure out how you're going to revamp this place. All right. And so one morning, 4 weeks after your adventure, you venture out on One Willow Avenue, and Mother Methanian, who sometimes collects the mail along the block and delivers it to people because she's nosy and likes to snoop through people's mail, she's like, "Hey, you guys got a letter from someone named Tehran of Aquaria?"
Tyron. Yeah.
All right. It's a letter.
Didn't know that guy could read.
Oh, well, says Claudia, apparently he could, because, oh God, he wrote us a novel. Check it out, Lester. This is Tyron's letter. In Comic Sans font. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Dear Lester and Claudia, I thought I would update you on life in Aquaria. It is so good, with no bad dreams. Giselle is taking care of the orphans like she said she would, and the kids love her. Rosella and Alexander have started working alongside me in the Troglodyte's Toe, and Marvin and Mondo have been talking about creating something called a franchise in the neighboring villages. Mayor Flintgristle and Miss Kerrigan Grizzlymane are in regular contact, and the first draft of the plan to turn Aquaria into a cultural exchange zone has already been sent to King Darian for review. I've heard from the Imperial Rangers that the king is looking at it favorably, and the first cultural exchange programs will start at the end of the year. From what I've heard, the Claw Runners in the Wildlands are healing from that sea serpent's attacks. Word has it that Goliath and his wife are even thinking of visiting Aquaria, and they say that people can't change. By the way, sir, I wanted to tell you the best news of all. Miss Van Grizzlymane agreed to go steady with me, and best of all, we had the intercourse! I almost died, because barbarians have this tradition where new couples have to begin their relationships by having the intercourse 8 times in one day. I can only do 3 before I fainted and suffered this ailment that Giselle called the testicular torsion. Miss Van says it's okay and we can start small and work up, though. I'm so happy. I never thought I would ever find a girl so cool, and I owe it all to you two. Thank you for everything from all of us here in Aquaria. Please visit soon, and I will see you next time I go to the capital. Automatically yours, Tyron. Oh, Lord, says Claudia. He got his balls all twisted up in a knot.
Oh, boy.
Oh, God. Lester, it is like one of those things where a hot girl ends up with a boring, mediocre man. Oh, dear. Well, good for him, though. Good on Tyron.
Yeah, what do you call that?
He had the intercourse.
Yeah.
So, after reading this note, you guys go and you're going to try to meet with the society, the Sleight of Hand Society, all right?
Okay.
And as you're moving through town, actually, a Tartec Imperial Guard comes up to you and says, "The king requests your presence." All right? And so he moves you towards the castle, where it appears King Darian has been waiting for you. All right? So we're moving to the castle. Alright, and so we're in the castle right now. You should be on the castle map. And you see King Darian there. And the wizards. There's William and Wander, and they wave at you. And then you can see the Imperial Rangers. And you can see your man Smalldong there as well. Alright? And so, as you get up and then and bow before the king and do the usual familiarities, King Darian's like, "Oh, well, it's good to see you again, Mortimer LeFoe." You gonna correct him or not?
No, why not? Why bother?
I've heard you've become what is this, like something of a cultural ambassador with the natives?
Sort of.
Right. Well, I've got this draft of a plan to, I don't know, turn a whole town into some sort of what is this, exchange program? And I don't know. Do you think this is wise?
Well, I think for that particular part of the world, I think it does make a lot of sense.
And do you think they're not going to rise up and try to invade Tartec or kill my people down there? Aquaria is technically a part of my empire.
No, I think they found a mutually beneficial agreement where they even the faction of the barbarians that was not actually that friendly actually was interested and doing business. So I think they've struck up a business deal that'll work out for both of them.
Well, that's very nice. Is there money to be made? Like, can we get some of those nice animal skins from the wildlands, you think? You know, and I don't know. You think they might be willing to join the Imperial Army at some point?
I don't know if I go that far.
Yeah, but there's money to be made, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Well, we'll see. It's not a bad plan. It's very complicated, and, well, Esmeralda will explain it to me. She's, yeah. Well, anyways, that's not really why I called you here today. I called you for another matter. And as he's doing this, actually, Sparky pokes out from behind you and is like, "Meow," and King Darian's like, "Oh my God, that's a very strange-looking dog." And the wizards have helped you get. The wizards, along with Esmeralda, have helped you get what's like a license of sort for an exotic pet in Tartec. So the paperwork's all there. And so King Darian looks at Sparky for a minute and is like, "Oh, strange beast." Anyways, this is... I called you for another reason. So Lester, you helped me with that nasty business with the Nevans before, yes?
Hmm.
Right, so I got a very interesting request from the Sultana of Neva. And do you know what she asked me?
Maybe. But I'll let you tell it, sir.
Well, so she's looking for a detective.
Oh.
Tell me, Lester, my boy, you've helped me out before, and you seem to be getting on quite well with the minority peoples of the world. Would you like to go to Neva on my behalf, perhaps? There's a reward in there for you, and she's got a reward as well.
Well, did she say what it entailed?
So King Darian begins to describe to you about Neva and the Sultana, and how she was looking for somebody to help her find an artifact that's been missing. And then he said, "And by the way, there's another thing that's happened as well. You remember that man of yours, Etter Godstantine? He's escaped. And we have reason to believe he's fled back to Neva, along with a contingent of other Nevans that we captured following the incident 4 weeks ago, along with some other strange man. You know someone named McGregor?"
Yeah.
Yes, well, there was a breakout from the cellars. They bribed some guards, and, well, they poisoned old Small Dong over there. And so for the first time you see Small Dong over here, he's actually, like, foaming at the mouth. And he's been tied up and restrained. He's currently unconscious. They poisoned him. They put drugs. They got him addicted to a narcotic substance that's highly addictive and passed around in the streets in Neva. But anyways, he'll snap out of it eventually. But we have reason to believe that they fled to Neva, and so the Sultana asking us for our help, it all seems fortuitous. They seem like they could use their help. Your help over there.
Okay.
So the king goes on to describe this and that and so on and so forth, and you get the feeling that a new case awaits.
Case of the troubled territory.
Etter, Constantine, and the Nevans have escaped, presumably back to their homeland. The Sultana of Neva asking for expert assistance in recovering an ancient royal artifact. The game is afoot once again, and both the territory of Neva and a new case await.
Oh.
All right, and that will be the next adventure.
Oh. Then you meet some old enemies.
And so now we finally wrap up the case of the grandmotherly ghost. All right, and in the very final bits and pieces of this adventure, I would like to announce that you and Claudia have both leveled up. Okay?
Oh.
All right, so you and Claudia both level up, and we'll do the last thing we'll do is just the additions on your character sheet. Okay, so you should be seeing your character sheet right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so you level up, and you're level 8 now, and Claudia's level 8 as well. And as usual, when you're level 8, you get a small hit point increase.
Let me just see what it is. Okay, so for level 8, what you can do, I'll just change it on your sheet now. You're no longer level 7, you're level 8. Alright. You're level 8. And so what you can do is you can choose to roll a d8 and add your constitution modifier for new hit points. Your constitution modifier is 1. So you can either roll a d8 and add 1 or just take 5 and add 1. It's up to you.
Just take 5.
Okay. So you get 6 new hit points. So your hit point maximum is now 47.
Oh.
47 hit points. All right. And you gain, at level 8, you gain an ability score improvement. Okay? So, what you can do is you see these base values over at the side: strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what you can do is you can increase one of those by 2, or you could increase 2 by 1.
By 2.
Yes. And I'm talking about the base value, like the 12, 15, 12 at the bottom. And so what happens is these get higher, the modifiers change, the big numbers on top. And the modifiers are kind of the important things. So it's up to you which ones you want to increase.
Let's see. I think let's increase. What do we do? Constitution and strength.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, let's do those two.
Bumping them up.
Balance out a little bit.
Okay. So that won't be enough to change the modifier yet. Okay. So
That's okay.
yeah, but you can bump them up. All right. So they're both 13.
Yeah.
Okay. They're both 13 now. All right. All right, and I'll do that for Claudia afterwards. So you and Claudia are both level 8. And then the very last thing is I would like to show you is this. Lester and Claudia on the go.
Oh.
You see it? You should see it.
Yeah.
Hero Forge, yeah. You can click on it to see him bigger. Yeah.
All right.
So Lester and Claudia continue to get stronger, level 8 now, riding through the great outdoors, ready to take on whatever mysteries this world throws at them. So that's you on the horses that you guys found in the wildlands.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah, you with your crossbow, Claudia with her staff of vines, and with the mares that you guys got from the wildlands and that you broke down like bucking broncos. All right, and so that brings an end to this adventure. Finally. And the next one, as after some time passes, after I spend a couple of weeks to make it, will be the Case of the Troubled Territory.
Very nice.
Alright, so yeah, there we go. We finally did it. We reached the end. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You
that's
solved
good.
the case of the grandmotherly ghost. Did you have a preference for this adventure versus the last one? Any things you liked, didn't like, any feedback?
Yeah, they were very different. I liked them both. Yeah, I liked how it was. This one was outdoors. The last one was mostly a city dungeon, almost like a dungeon crawl type of thing. More like I don't know, more inside the city, more intrigue and stuff like that. So yeah, there were different kinds of adventures.
Yeah, there were different styles. Do you prefer like intrigue and exploring the different locations of the city, or do you kind of prefer the kind of more traditional ventures into nature and fighting monsters? I got a chance to use monsters this time around.
Yeah.
Which I didn't. I mean, monsters aren't really in a city. There was a crocodile in the sewers, but you're mostly fighting human opponents.
Yeah.
So one of the goals was to actually use some of the monsters in the D&D book.
Yeah. I I liked. I think I liked the more traditional approach. But then, I haven't done enough of these to really, know much better. So
Yeah.
uh,
Well, it was more. It also had a bit more action, a bit more fighting, and
yeah,
definitely a more climactic finale fighting a gigantic sea serpent.
right, yeah,
Yeah, that was my version of like a Godzilla battle.
yeah,
Yeah, it was meant to stimulate a gigantic kaiju throwdown like in the movies, and it did, and you did a good job.
yeah. All right. Well, that's level 8. What happens? Is it 10 is the highest, or is it
No,
20?
20.
20 is the highest. Okay.
You will continue to get new abilities. You're getting stronger and stronger, and so is Claudia. And you're gonna eventually pick up some new items too, that can potentially change your fighting tactics. You got a chance to do a lot more fighting this time,
Yeah.
and so you seem to be comfortable with ranged weaponry and kind of scoping out a point and picking your opponents off,
Right.
as well as
Yeah.
controlling a gigantic robot. So we'll see how your skills continue to develop. But yeah, the ultimate is 20.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. We're getting there. Okay. I'm guessing over the next, if we're gonna go somewhere, we'll have to take the baby with us.
Yeah, you guys can continue. Well, the Sparky the Griffin is yours. It's your Pokemon. She will continue to grow. She shouldn't get a chance to do much because you only just got her. But maybe she can come in handy in Neva.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. Huh. You're like exploring all these different territories.
Yeah, I'm exploring some of them. Do you so what do you think about how it fits in with your world and kind of expanding on some of the unexplored areas? You incorporated some of that into your short story, I noticed, which I liked.
Yeah. No, I mean that's great. I didn't, that was that was actually a direct, you know, it was like directly from what you had picked or what you had done. So it was actually imitating what you had done. So
Yeah. So yeah, there will be more, and you'll kind of get to see some of these areas expand. So yeah, it'll take me some time to come up with the next adventure, but when I do, I'll let you know, and
Yeah.
we'll see how the world continues to grow and how Lester and Claudia continue to develop.
yeah. Have you written it? You haven't written the whole thing.
Oh no, it'll take some time. We're gonna take a break for a bit,
Yeah.
but it'll take some time, and I might try to make it a bit more open-ended. This one was it wasn't as open-ended as I initially thought it would be, and so I might try to that might be one of the goals of the next one, to give you guys a bit more choices and a bit more things that you can do, because a lot of this adventure.
Be like, I don't know if this one had more of a like a traditional story arc too.
Yeah,
so.
this one had more of a traditional story arc, and so, and then the next one will probably have more choices and more outcomes and more like, branching off points, which you can just, that's another style of play. The first adventure had some of that, and probably the next one will have even more of that. So you'll get to see what you like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. That sounds good. I enjoyed it. It's a lot of work.
Well, yeah, but it's pretty good stories to be told.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we will wrap up and continue in a couple weeks with the case of the Troubled Territory.
Sounds good.